What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Season Gaming Bitcast episode 342. We are back from a 2-week extended hiatus for Summer GameFest. We're already off and running. But yes, we're back. It's going to be a great show today. We got a lot to talk about. We almost have too much to talk about. So we're going to pick our spots here and talk about everything to do with the Switch 2 launch and our impressions of the unit, Mario Kart World, and any other games we're playing on the Switch. Obviously, we're going to be breaking down Summer Game Fest, the major showcases. And I'll be talking a lot about all of my hands-on impressions with a bunch of the games you saw as well. So I'm excited to share a lot of that. We've got Dune is out. We've got all kinds of things. We got a Gears beta. Travis is licking the microphone. You know, we're off and running right out of the gate. So I am joined by my favorite two people here. My co-host, the lawman himself, has been gaming like crazy for 2 weeks. And may I say, sir, happy Father's Day to you. How are we doing?
Happy Father's Day to you. I'm excited to talk. I'm a little overwhelmed, honestly, with our extended hiatus of one missed show, which we actually taped a bonus episode for.
We did. Yeah,
and then
we
I didn't post it.
I didn't post it on Sunday because I was dead.
The entire point of the algorithm.
I was
It's
dead.
all good, Travis. The algorithm is going to algorithm. There's nothing we can do about it. It's okay. Yes. And I've been playing so many games and watching so many showcases that I feel like this episode could go on for 16 hours if we all talked about everything we could possibly talk about. So I'm going to try to keep it brief, and I'm very interested in hearing what Ains has to say about actually playing some of these things.
Yeah, there's a lot. I won't be able to talk about all of it, but there's a few things I want to talk about because they're notable. You should be keeping your eye on. So we'll get there, of course. First, we've got the Thai guy here as well, who, one, sir, I want to wish you a happy Father's Day as well to all those children that you've probably had through the years and abandoned. But two, I want to we want to call out that we found the game you played as a kid that you couldn't think of.
That's right. Yeah, somebody in the Bitcast, just like, I don't know if they did a...
It's Walt. Walt,
AI
that's Elu's brother, by the way, our editor and mod here. That's his brother.
Yeah. Apparently, the first game I ever played for the Atari that I have never been able to find out the name for was called Mountain King. He showed me, he sent me the name. I Googled it, and I immediately was like, this is it. This is the one I was thinking of. So there you go.
King.
And I had never heard of it. And I played Atari all the time, had tons of games. I'd never heard of it.
There you go.
Goodbye.
It's from 1980 something. Yeah, right. 1884.
The real life Oregon Trail.
Yeah. So that's cool. There we go. That's the game. Hi,
Travis.
what's up? Hey, what's
Games, bro? Games.
We're going to record a show
what's
about
up, dude?
video games today.
Yeah, you want to join us? You in?
I played some of those.
Okay.
Cool. Let's talk.
We've forgotten how to do this in the past couple of weeks. You have to apologize.
I was going to say, with your season, one missed episode really is an extended hiatus by the looks of things.
Yeah. The brain has completely shut this off. So let's get to our out of the box stuff here with Tide's picks. Of course, we're going to hit for a Happy Father's Day episode, and we are all grilling, boys.
Hell yeah! Damn, we all look so daddulous.
I think this is probably the best we've looked collectively, wouldn't you say?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Obviously, Hogue is still jacked.
I mean, yeah, Hogue is still built and perfectly chiseled, but you know,
this might be the first. This might be the first AI image that I ever looked jacked in. I'm kind of liking it. Look cool.
You do kind of look like Cyclops almost exactly in that one.
I know, dude. They always make me look like Cyclops, don't they?
Yeah. But you've got the muscles.
Look at my hair, though. That's the best my hair's ever been in these. Which, by the way,
mine too.
Yeah, and you're not wearing headphones.
Good. I'm not wearing headphones. I look normal. I'm a little too bald, but you know.
That's what you're cooking, though. You're cooking your headphones. Also, I'm very confused how you're cooking with the cap on, but you have you have like tongs. The world's tiniest tongs inside.
I have tweezers that I'm working with my steak.
How are you putting it through the grill cap?
Don't worry about what I'm doing. Focus on your hot dog.
The grill cap is clearly on, but it's translucent. I'm very confused.
You're just seeing it wrong. That's just a giant headphone.
I see. That's what it is. All right.
One giant headphone. Hogue, your audio just switched on us.
I think he's experimenting.
Yeah, you may be trying to fix it a bit. We are having some mic issues. Sorry for being running late. Go figure. Tide, thank you as always for hooking us up, and happy Father's Day to all the fathers in our audience and in the Bitcast or Season Gaming community. And Hope.
Was that
and
too
Hope
hot?
Love.
That was too high?
No, that's good. That's good right there. Yeah, that's
okay. We'll leave it there for right now. I apologize. Yes, we had some physical technical difficulties as someone bumped my setup, and I've been trying to fix it.
The old bump in the setup.
I couldn't do it what you do, Travis. Reset every week. Couldn't do it.
I break it down and I rebuild it not just every week, but multiple times a week because I do multiple recordings per week, and it is a huge pain in the ass.
It always feels like a roll of the dice for anything to work.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's get to these super chats out of the gate. Googleman is hitting us off as always.
Googleman 81, €10 super chat. So they're making a new Spaceballs movie and an Expanse video game.
They are.
Another one. Not the same people though. That'd be weird. Oh, and Mod Retro is sold out.
We don't know that Mel Brooks isn't going to make some Expanse jokes. It wasn't popular enough to really make an impression on Spaceballs universe, but hey, I love the Expanse.
And I love Spaceballs.
What do you guys think about this? Is it worth making Spaceballs 2 30 years later?
Go
40
for it,
years
dude.
Whatever the hell.
He's just living his best life. I think he can do whatever he wants. He's Mel Brooks.
He's going to be 100 when it releases, which is wild.
That's cool. Good for him.
Yeah. Wow.
In general, I don't give much hope to the 3 or 4 decades revivals, but we do have some successes on that list. So let's hope for a Maverick and not any of the other returns to form.
Fair enough. What is Mod Retro? Anyone know?
Nope.
I mean, it sounds like a retro emulator of some kind, but I don't know. No.
Well, yeah, he says sold out, so it must be a unit of
Looks
some
like it's a little Game Boy thing.
Okay, cool.
There's a lot of these. I feel like I've seen so many Game Boys that are fake Game Boys. Replay your old favorites. No thanks.
You want to play Mountain King on the go? Come on.
I'm good, actually. Actually, I probably wouldn't mind that one, but in general, like, I'm just like, I buy them every time, and then I just end up never actually playing them. I don't know.
Yeah, there's
too many new games to play old ones.
Yep. Googleman, thank you as always, my friend. Don's here.
Don Lionhearted, $10. He writes, "Happy Fathers and future fathers." Travis, no, not me. Day panel. Mind's Eye is played and platinumed in about 12 hours. Reviewing drafts for SG. Keep an eye out. Man wearing sunglasses. Finally, it is infinite wealth time. Man at a birthday party. One chap in.
Very little reading.
You sound like the old speech to text or text to speech applications. It's great. Oh my god. Thank you. Yes, he has Platinum Mind's Eye. We do have the review going up probably tomorrow on that. So if you're interested in that, you can check it out.
Who isn't interested in Mind's Eye?
We can talk about some Mind's Eye. I've got some playtime in on that gem.
Yeah.
Gem. Wow. All right.
Yeah, one of those plastic gems you find, like
Don, thank you, my friend.
Set.
We got Freight Conductors here.
Freight Conductor, $5 super chat. Beltaloda
from Expanse.
Yeah, it took me a second. It took me a second. You actually said it quite well, Travis, for not translating it to Expanse. That's pretty much how
it sounded very familiar, and now I'm remembering it. Okay, cool.
I love some Expanse. Good show. Yeah. Freight, thanks, my friend. And Alex is here.
Alejandro Segovia super chatting us from CCOT, $1.99 super chat. Missed the SGF party, Travis. Great people and riots.
Riots. Yeah. I don't think riots is the right word, but yes. It was something. I'll talk about it. Yeah. Yeah, you definitely missed a great time though. It was a lot of fun. It's cool meeting Alex and hanging out, of course. Alex, thank you. And shout out to the legendary Vintage Willow for gifting 5 SG memberships to kick us off this week as we come back to talk about Summer Game Fest. Willow, thank you as always. All right.
Do we have to talk about Summer Game Fest?
Yes, we do.
Oh, okay. It's a mandate.
Yes, mandated by law. When I signed to go to the show, they tell you have to talk about it the following week. So yeah. All right. Yeah, it happens, you know. So let's get into what we'd currently be playing, because really we do have a ridiculous amount to talk about today. So I figured we'll start. Why don't we start with the Switch 2? It launched while we were on our long hiatus. It is out. It seems that they had plenty of stock, to go around. They're readily available. It has set the record, if you didn't see, for the fastest console launch in history out of the gate, surpassing the PlayStation 4. I think it did 3.5 million units in 3 days, if I remember correctly. And it's obviously probably continued selling since then.
That's a lot of Mario.
But here we are. I got home. I got it set up. I've been playing a lot of Mario Kart World, and I've actually gone back to Mario Wonder, which I'm enjoying the hell out of. But what do you guys think about the... Oh God, it's gonna be one of those episodes, Hogue.
It is.
It's gonna be one of those.
Stay strong.
You guys have probably played it more than me, Hogue. I know you were really looking forward to this one. You were able to get one, thankfully, after the Walmart debacle.
Yes, I was going to tell you about that.
Yeah.
So I was worried that Walmart was going to cancel because, as I mentioned in the last episode, I had gotten a check to see if my credit card worked, and my credit card bank tried to block it for fraud. And I immediately said it was okay, but I was wondering whether Walmart would try to run it again or whether they'd just cancel. And I was following my pre-order up until the morning of release, and then I was woken at 6 a.m. to a text message from Walmart saying we are canceling your pre-order on launch day. I said, well, this is uncool, man. And Walmart said, we don't care, bro. And so my wife, who is a darling person and who deserves much better than me, said, we're going to go track one down on launch day. So we dropped my daughter off at school and then immediately started going around rainy Southeast Michigan to see if somebody had a Switch available. Unfortunately, one of the Targets local to me had a Switch, and I picked one up, and it's Walmart's loss. But it was an eventful, dramatic morning that ended with a Switch 2 in my home. So I'm very excited about that. I'm even more excited about the system itself. I love it to death. I'm not sure I've ever loved a system at launch more than this. So I'm happy to talk about the Switch 2 as much as anybody wants, but I could literally take up the entire time frame of this episode with how much I'm enjoying my Switch 2. So just know that it is one of my favorite systems ever. It is fantastic. It's a fantastic piece of tech. And if you're at all interested in it, you should get it.
It's high praise, my friend. I've been impressed with it in the sense of it definitely feels like a much more serious unit than the Switch 1. It's a big upgrade from a physical holding it, playing it standpoint. I've really enjoyed the updates to other games in the sense of just like, it just feels modern as it should, right? Like the Switch felt pretty dated. And so I've gone back to Super Mario Wonder, which I said is an amazing game. Obviously, I know that game came out a few years ago and it was very highly regarded. We actually, Elu gave it a 10 at SG, but I only played it very little when it came out. So I've been really enjoying that as a throwback to 2D Mario. But Mario Kart World, I've really been loving. I know we were talking a little bit about that this week. I think Travis, you said like, it's not as technical as Mario Kart 8, and obviously, Mario Kart 8 came out on the Wii U. It's had a decade worth of content additions and tracks, and Mario Kart 8 is ridiculous, right? It has so much in it nowadays, but I think as a foundation, Mario Kart World is really good, and I've been enjoying the hell out of it. It's fun.
Travis, did you say it was less technical? I find Mario Kart World to be more technical than 8.
It is significantly less technical from a racing.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, unless I'm misremembering, but I thought that's what you said.
It is significantly less technical from a racing perspective. Like it is a little... I think the goal was to casualify, and if you look at the whole game, it kind of seems that way. Like 24 players is not really like a quantity of players you put in if you're wanting like an actual competitive race. It basically just adds like way too much chaos. But I think that's kind of the point. They're going for like a different kind of
Mario Kart has always been
game.
about chaos, right?
I mean, people play that game seriously, and like we had some like actual people who've put like hundreds of hours into Mario Kart 8 at our like little launch party we had at my house. And their main comment was like, "Oh wow, this is just like not a serious racing game. It's kind of just like something you do silly." So yeah, I mean, I won't make this podcast all about the Switch because we have way too much to cover, but I'm probably a lot less hot on it than you guys so far. The Switch itself, obviously a huge upgrade. Love the new Joy-Cons. It's like a much more streamlined version of what the Switch 1 was. But so far, the fact that the only game they have is Mario Kart World, and it's not a game I've particularly been enjoying by what I've played so far. And also, it's just not that exciting a console considering it's already less powerful than other consoles out there, including some of the handhelds that have come out in the time since the Switch 1 and this came out. I just don't find it like the most like explosive, but that's also because, you know, Nintendo's always been defined by their insanely good software that we haven't gotten much of yet. So I'm hanging in there for now. I did a review of Hogwarts Legacy for the Switch 2 as kind of like an update to see like how it compares. And just like you would expect, it's way better than the Switch 1 version, but still not as good as like the PS5 and Xbox Series versions. It kind of runs somewhat similar to like the Xbox Series S in terms of performance, which if you played it on that console, it like runs it, but not super well. And that's kind of what it does on the Switch. So I put some time into it. I'm not as enamored with it right now. I haven't gotten back to it now that I'm on a different review on PC. But yeah, I mean, time will tell, right? Like it's going to have amazing games. I have no doubt. And I'll be happy to play it then. For now, Dee's using it for dating sims that she
well, I want to talk about that for just a second, because one of the reasons I love this system is I have an enormous library of indie games that I thought the Switch could run, and a lot of those were really poorly optimized specifically to use the Switch's loading times. However, it was putting things in memory would really drive you crazy in indie games. And I didn't realize how much every game I had in my library would be boosted just by the Switch 2's power. Like, it doesn't increase res, it doesn't increase frame rates if it doesn't get one of those updates that we can talk about. But every indie game that felt like it was going to collapse, that made you wait for 2 or 3 minutes on the initial load and through the load screens, every single one is better. So it feels like the entire library that I have has been opened up wildly. And so that's really enjoyable. The other thing that I would want to mention about the launch is, yes, Mario Kart World is the only major first-party release. We don't have to talk about Welcome Tour too much. It's fine. But like, they have a lot of launch games that are really nice on the Switch 2. I've been really enjoying Rune Factory, Guardians of Ozma. I've been enjoying Cyberpunk 2077. And I've had a good launch with this unit. And yes, I'm looking forward to Donkey Kong. But I've loved Mario Kart World. I've loved these other games that have released for it in this launch window. And I've loved all the old games that are now revitalized that I've purchased over the last decade or so. In addition to that, I love Pokemon Scarlet now, which I didn't before. That is an amazing Switch 2 upgrade. That is free. And it's an entirely different game with an actual resolution and frame rate. So if you were at all interested in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and you said, wow, that's ugly when it came out a couple of years ago, I don't really blame you, but it's fantastic now. So check it out. And with those games in your launch Switch 2 unit, you're going to be playing well past when Bonanza comes out next month. So I've really enjoyed this launch, honestly.
Cool. Yeah, I liked it. I mean, I'm you know, we've said many times, I'm not the biggest Switch player. So, but no, I've liked Mario Kart World. I like the one thing that I've had real fun with, and this is me typically, is I grew up playing Mario Kart 64 battle mode with friends, you know, just constant. So being able to go online and have a nice giant map of battle mode and different modes is a lot of fun. It is chaos, to your point, Travis. I was playing Knockout Tour yesterday, and I like those a lot too. It's really fun. So just, you know, it's very casual, but it's hilarious. So I've been enjoying that. But
some of the decisions they made in that game are also very perplexing. I could get into it. I don't want to do a review of Mario Kart World right here, but yeah, the like we did a versus the battle mode, right? And like some of the maps make sense for battle mode. You're like, okay, it's like a little arena where you're running around in, and then some of them are just like full racetracks from the game, and you can drive like for 4 minutes and not see anyone. It's like, what is this? What are they thinking when they put this map selection together? So I'm looking forward to playing more of it. But yeah, the upgrades thing is cool. The kind of passive upgrades. I would have liked it if more games had an actual like update where they worked on the way the game looks, and rather than just like, because most of the improvements I've seen are like, okay, it does the thing it was trying to do on the Switch one very clearly, and it improves load times. But like for example, Mario Party Jamboree not having an update at launch is kind of like
It's
crazy.
next month.
Yeah, it's a while, right? And so like we were planning on having like these Switch 2 launch parties last week and this week and next week, and like for all of them that people are like Mario Party Jamboree, and I'm like, the old version, I mean, you're not going to be able to use any of the cool new Switch 2 controls. Also, have you guys used the mouse mode on the Switch at all?
Only in Welcome Tour.
Yeah, we did it on Cyberpunk because a lot of people brought their Switches to LA, right? So there were a bunch of them on the tables, but it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Like it's fairly accurate. The problem is holding the controller that way is like deeply uncomfortable over long periods of time. It'll definitely hurt your hand. But I already saw some people are like 3D printing molds.
I saw that too.
Slide it into to make it a mouse. So I think that stuff could be cool. I'm surprised Nintendo didn't like have an add-on for that already at launch. But
they probably
it's interesting. Will. I'm impressed how accurate it is.
Yeah, it works crazy well for what it is. So there's a lot of little magic bits of the Switch 2 that feel that way. The Welcome Tour is really good at showing off some of the stuff that the system can do. That's why it should have been a pack-in.
Very bad game though.
But I mean, it's not a game per se. So
they're selling it to you like it's a game. So
I mean, Steam sells me, architectural CAD software. It's just a platform. So Welcome Tour is an informational application. I'm not sure I would call it a game. But it does
manual. Yeah.
It does show off cool things. They have a really cool piece of microphone software that really does kill all the rest of the noise in the room. That's pretty impressive. The mice are impressive. I do recommend, if you want to feel better about your hardware, checking out the Welcome Tour. It's just a shame that they sold it separately.
Let me ask you guys, so you either of you put a third-party handles, grip, case, anything on it?
Nope.
Just a screen.
No? Damn. Okay. I still can't hold it well. Like, I don't play the Switch in portable mode much, but when I travel or something, I'm going to want to. So I've been asking people what the best. I've got a few recommendations, but
I actually like the size of the Joy-Con.
I travel with the Pro controller.
I played Joy-Cons.
Yeah. No, the lower thumbstick on the right still messes me up. I really wish it was like the Steam Deck where they're both at the top.
Really?
So, and I got big hands, man. I'm a big guy, so
you definitely have to reach for it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to hold comfortably for any extended period of time.
I just take those Joy-Cons off, and you can play Switch 2 with your hands at your sides, just like this. Like other controllers,
like you're dead.
Your hands together. Okay. But when you're playing the Switch, you can just go like this. So you can just literally look like you're not playing games. People walk in the room and be like, "Are you watching a movie?" You'd be like, "No, dude. I got my Joy-Cons right here. I'm just playing a game, looking totally prone."
I love the little glimpses into life with Travis.
Yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
D pops in. She's like, "This is every day."
Yeah.
There's just a catatonic Travis with a Joy-Con under his arm.
Completely catatonic. You look like you're not engaged at all, and then secretly you just have these hands going on the side of you. It's a cool little thing you can do.
Oh God. Well, yeah, we'll obviously talk more about the Switch 2 in the future and the games. I said many times I'm looking very forward to Bonanza. That's my most anticipated title, so pumped for that next month. It's only a month away, so Bonanza. He
wants that Bonandium. Yeah.
I want bananas.
Couple of the games, a few games to talk about before we get to Summer Game Fest and Xbox and all the showcases. But I know you guys are both playing Dune. We talked about this in preview. We talked about it coming out. I mentioned that Steve.
Correction. Hogue is playing Dune. I'm living Dune.
Oh,
right?
Jesus Christ.
I'm living on.
So
I'm one with Arrakis. I'm native. I've gone native on Arrakis, y'all.
You're native, all right.
Sometimes I wonder if it's a good idea to start my week with Travis, but other times I know it's not.
So a few people at SG loving this as well. Talk to me about it, boys. Is it as good as you previously thought now that you have a lot more time into it?
Well, Travis, you've played through the whole thing. I'm still in the weeds.
It's an MMO, isn't it?
It's kind of.
Yes, it's an MMO, but it shows its MMO stripes a little later in the game than most. It's got a very lengthy onboarding game where it can be a single player survival game, and they specifically designed it to where it is solo friendly for the vast majority of the game until you get into the end game, and then it forces you to get rockets shot at you while you try to recover scraps from the ground. It is I'm 140 hours into the game. I've played a ton of it, and I'm done with the main campaign. I've basically done everything you could do in the Haga Basin. I've got multiple ornithopters, including an assault ornithopter with rocket launchers, no big deal. And I've got speed bikes, buggies. I'm refining my spice now. The spice must flow, as we all know, Bila Kaifa. And I'm enjoying it quite a bit. I'll have my review out tomorrow because that's my deadline, and I'm definitely gonna hit my deadline. No difficulty there. And I've still got plenty of end game to do. I've basically, it feels like kind of only just dipped my toes into the deep desert at this point. So my friends and I are planning on going hard into that space today, rolling with multiple ornithopters and starting to establish our base and run out there. But it's a wild game. If you like survival games, it's very good. If you're like myself and a big fan of the Duneverse, Frank Herbert's work, it does a fantastic job of recreating that sci-fi world. And I think that's really its biggest strength and its biggest weakness is if you like Dune, it is an incredible recreation of that world, but also it's an incredibly good recreation of that world. And sometimes that's super annoying in the way that they make you kind of play the stuff that they make you do to like LARP as a person who's surviving on Arrakis. They make you move your home all the time, which is a huge pain in the ass. They're really obsessed with like inventory space, and there's no way to increase your inventory space because they're going for like, well, if you want inventory space, you've got to craft a new vehicle that has storage space and can carry all this stuff, and then manually trek it across the sands because that's what you would do in Dune. And it's just a lot of like really monotonous stuff that it wants you to do for the sake of realism. And I kind of respect it because they're so committed to it, but also it's deeply annoying at times. And that kind of extends to the combat, right? Like they have the Holtzman effect in the game. So like if you have a shield on, bullets can't penetrate and hurt you. And that means that if you're using a gun, you're like waiting for somebody to shoot back at you so that you can shoot them. And it makes combat have a really oppressive rhythm to it where it's like, all right, well, you kind of want to be a sword guy. Like I pivoted my build from guns to sword because it kind of doesn't make sense to use guns until you get ones that can pierce or at least damage more a Holtzman shield. And it's just like, there's like a lot of little stuff like that where you're like, I respect it so much because I love this universe and they're clearly committing to like, we're just going to put that in the game, but also sometimes that comes in conflict with it having good game design, where it's just like, all right, well, normally you wouldn't want to put that in a game because it feels bad. And that's kind of my thoughts on the entire game in general is like, oh my God, this is the Dune game I've always wanted. It feels like you're living on Arrakis. Sometimes feeling like you're living on Arrakis is deeply irritating. And that's the game, but I love it.
I was wondering, since you commented something like that to me earlier in the week, what you meant by that, and I understand it better now. I think I agree, but I am such a big fan of Dune that I have never felt Dune as a long lineage of being presented in video games, and I have never felt like I'm in Dune, like I am in Dune Awakening, and that's fantastic. But also, I know that I had just spent an hour building a sand bike, and I had just crossed the desert and gotten shot, and now I am back at a checkpoint before my sand bike, and I know I'm going to have to rebuild it, and that makes me sad. So I will say this. I like survival crafter loops, but I like them more with cool prefabs. I like the Subnautica model of survival crafter more than the floor, wall, roof, build everything piece by piece model. And so I love this game, but I don't love trying to make something cool out of squares. I never have.
Not to interrupt you, Hogue, but is that what this is? It's that
Yes.
secondary model? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. To its credit, you can get like prefabs from other players. Basically, like they can copy the layout of their base and they can sell it to you on the market, but you don't get that until later in the game, and so you're going to be making ugly boxes, and that's how most people start. And then eventually you can just get sick bases.
I'm sure that's
crafted
true.
mine on my own, but yeah, you can get
This
really
is like
cool stuff.
Minecraft. I have no doubt you can make amazing things with blocks. I'm not so interested in spending my time doing that. But outside of that, the keeping hydrated, staying out of the sun, staying to the shadows to avoid sunstroke, managing your resources, and driving up a research pathway, I love all of that. I just don't really care for building all of the survival things that you need to piece by piece.
Yeah, one of the
That's-
amazing things about the game is that it turns all of the stuff you would think would be a huge detriment to the game into an advantage by, like, for example, the fact that there's a lot of empty space in Arrakis. They go, no, the empty space is actually the obstacle. Like, if you want to cross this dune sand to get to this next area, you have to craft a bike because there's no way you're getting across without a worm eating you on the way. And then later on in the game, it's like, all right, well, you were able to cross that gap, but now there's a completely different type of obstacle, radiation, that you have to get through, which means that you're going to need to craft items that help you survive radiation if you want to go into that zone. And so it keeps doing that and asking you to come up with a solution to it. And it's kind of brilliant. Like, I'm like, wow, like I would have thought all of these things would have made this game suck, and they use them in a really clever way. Have you been eaten by a worm yet?
No, but I did have one breach right next to me, and that was one of my favorite gaming things that has happened to me in a long time.
Yeah.
It is amazing how this game feels like you're in specific, the new Dune movies, which is interesting because it's not, I love the Villeneuve movies, but that's never been how I have thought of Dune in my head. And I read the books a long time ago. And so the kind of brutalist, everything is undecorated look is interesting. And they actually have some commentary. One of the things that I was not expecting in this game is how much role-playing game stuff there is in here. So it's got a full codex. It's got a lot of stuff written in universe to help explain some things. That's awesome. But then it has these huge conversations with like the merchants that you meet that you can just decide to dive into. You can just nerd out on Dune lore if you feel like it with everybody in the game. So it winds up feeling a little bit like the Old Republic or something like that with all this voice dialogue. So it's this hybrid survival RPG thing. And I have heard Endgame has more of those MMO elements. I've not experienced any of them yet. My Steam currently tells me I've only played it a mere 14 hours. So I have seen nothing, but I've enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah, you also haven't seen the other part where you're going to like the social spaces, so you can go to other planets other than Arrakis in this game, and they're basically like social areas where you do vendors and you get side quests and stuff, but you also engage in like the politics part of Dune.
Yeah, we need to do some politicking. That's not there yet. I think the comment I made to you this week, Travis, was this is great, this is fantastic. I hope that they can hit some of the statecraft politics because that's where Dune lives.
Yeah, they make you choose a faction and the side in the war, and then they let you do like this whole lands rat thing, which I've started to engage with a lot. And yeah, I mean, you can play this game up until like Hogue. You could play it for 100 hours up until the part where you get to the deep desert, and then even the deep desert, they give you a 10% around the borders where there is no PvP, and you can kind of like settle and figure that stuff out. But you can enjoy this game as like a solo player and go through the campaign, which is actually pretty good. I have my issues with it, but I'll write about that in my review. And then you go all the way to the end. You can get all the stuff and deck out your research and get hundreds of levels and all that stuff without really ever engaging in multiplayer if you don't want to. And I think it's such a interesting and cool strength. But it definitely starts to feel a lot more like an MMO. And honestly, like most survival games, it's just better if you have friends. Like being able to drive around in a buggy with one person in the turret, who's the turret is like a miner on mine, right? So there's somebody like grinding resources and gathering everything while I'm just driving around and that sort of thing. Is just a lot of fun. And then when you start to get ornithopters that can have multiple people in them, that's like another cool part of it. I will say this because I think it's funny. Hogue, you saw a worm, right? The worms that are in the Haga Basin map, which is an enormous freaking map, and you could spend like 100 hours on it, are basically adolescents compared to the worms that you see in the deep desert. The worms in the deep desert are so big they could swallow cities, and they make you think of like all the other worms you see on the map as like basically not worms, like kind of not threats to you. Like I'm talking, there was one point where I was mining spice and I just see on the horizon, it looks like a mountain's coming out of the ground. And I'm like, what is that? And then I look behind me and there's another side where the mountain's coming up. And I realize, oh, those are lips. I'm standing in the middle of a mouth that is slowly rising and the ground just starts sinking beneath you. And it's just literally coming straight up from the earth. Like, it's just like you're already in its mouth and you're like, oh God. And you're getting in your ornithopter and trying to fly up in the air as quickly as you can. Cause this thing's just going, just taking everything with it. It is insane. So the game really goes places. I've got to play like more of the deep desert PvP stuff to kind of cap off before I can write my review, but it is a trip and definitely one of the coolest games this year. So
I love it. Yeah, no, it's going to be on my game of the year list, and that is way unexpected for me.
Yeah, I think you were talking before this that you didn't trust Funcom and that you thought this game might not be good. Yeah, so
like for long-term support and what might happen to the game, I still don't trust Funcom. That's just from a history of playing their games, but I wanted to give it a run. I love Dune. I figured it would have to be very bad for me to not enjoy this experience. So I'm glad I bought it. It's way better than I thought it would be. It's way better than even Travis pitched it to me as, but we may be underselling how much I love Dune. So
Dune is sick. Be like Haifa.
That's good. I'm glad it's good. I know the Dune heads I know other than you guys have been loving it too. So it seems like they hit the mark. Probably a silly question given what you said, but I assume is this considered canon? Like it's part of that universe?
So one of the things that's really smart about what they did here, and it's in the intro, and it's the first place where I really felt like they had a good handle on what Dune is that the game itself takes place essentially in a dream of the Kwisatz Haderach, of a different timeline that could have existed. And so it's canon insofar as they've set it up as Paul Atreides is thinking about what this might have been, but it's not happening in the universe where Paul Atreides exists.
It's an alternate reality where Paul Atreides was never born and instead his mom had a daughter like she was supposed to, and you get to see what that timeline was like. So it is That's cool. Very specifically not canon, but it's in a way so that they can play with the lore and introduce you to let you interact with characters that actually die like 5 minutes into the Dune novel, and so they're sort of having fun with the lore and the characters in that world and not tying themselves to the exact plot line that happens in the Dune novel. So it's very interesting kind of
I probably prefer that honestly in video games.
Yeah, it's cool.
No, it's very smart, and
it is smart,
it doesn't feel random. Like it's not just anything can happen and now there are butterflies on Arrakis. It's more like, so this happened, so that meant this, that meant this, and this is why you're experiencing it this way. And it all checks out for the books, which is nice. Like you just don't expect that.
Okay.
It's cool.
Cool. Well, we got a ton of games to talk about, so I don't want to stay on Dune anymore, but I'm glad it's as good as you guys said. Sounds awesome. So
it's fantastic. I want to play it right now.
Nice. Good stuff. Your review tomorrow. You said, Travis,
what server you on? What server you on, baby?
What server am I on? It's like Wayrest.
Yeah, lame. I'm on Sandtides.
I really,
No matter what words you said, Hogue, he was going to say lame. He was just waiting for you to say the word.
No, if he said Santides, I would have been like, let's play together. Let's go.
No, I've been running around with my brother.
Nice.
This guy 07 says PC only. I think it's PC only right now, right?
It is, but I got to tell you, it is so set up for consoles. Like you can see the design in the game as you play it. It'll be on consoles someday soon, I would guess.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if it were soon, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be
depends on your definition of soon.
Well, yeah, I don't think it'll be in the next year.
I would say in 2026.
Interesting. Okay. I would love if that were true. Cool. I have my doubts, but we'll see.
Okay. Let's see. Couple real quick mentions that I know a lot of the community I deal with, of course. So Gears Reloaded beta is this weekend and next weekend. To be clear, it is very simple. It is just team deathmatch, multiplayer only as a server test. It's literally a server test. And quite frankly, the test hasn't gone well. There was all kinds of matchmaking issues. You couldn't find a match. It was kind of messy, but it seems as of last night to be working okay. It is Gears 1, so take that as you will. It is a quite dated game. It looks and runs very well, but the mechanics are Gears 1. So if you enjoyed that and loved it in the day and want to revisit it, by all means, check that beta out. If you're expecting something kind of like a remake, it is not that. The guns feel the same. The shots feel the same. The movement and everything is pure Gears 1. So had a few matches, had fun with it. I don't know how much I'm going to play it. I really, really wish they did Gears 2 and 3 instead, or in addition to. Gears 1's been remade before or remastered before. I don't know. I wish it was Gears 2 or 3, in my opinion. But, for Gears fans, it's cool to see. So that's out there. Let's see. Another quick mention. I mention this game all the time. I feel obligated to do so. Its final season 7 is out. It's probably the biggest updates to the game we've seen yet, and it is the best arena shooter on the market, bar none. I will take that argument with anyone. It is incredible. Please, please, please check it out if you haven't. So,
which game was that? Sorry,
the finals.
Nice, good game.
Yeah, season 7's out. Ton of amazing updates. It's incredible. So Hogue, you said you had a few more games before we get to Summer Game Fest and all those things. You said you had a couple other games you wanted to call out that you've been playing, I believe.
Yeah, so I have been playing a lot of games this last couple of weeks, and I mentioned one while we were talking about the Switch that I have been enjoying, called Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma. Rune Factory is the spin-off of, I think, Harvest Moon as a series that has fantasy elements introduced to a kind of farming, cozy life sim type game. And this one in particular is around kind of fantasy feudal Japan. So it has some of the themes that I really like in places like Kunitsugami that I talked about last year, of kind of purifying the land, bringing life back because there's a blight, that kind of thing. It's a good game. I don't think it's a standout really, but if you like Rune Factory, if you like Harvest Moon, if you like that kind of loop, it is a more high production value version of that game series. And I think Guardians of Azuma is technically a spin-off. It's not Rune Factory 6, so they treat it a little bit differently than the mainline series. But it has eaten up a lot of time, and I've really been enjoying that. The other game that I've been playing a lot of on my Switch 2, which is going to make Travis laugh, is the 100 line, which uses no Switch 2 powers at all. But the 100 line is freaking nuts. I know I've talked about it on this show before. That was all during what I suppose we would call the tutorial or initial part of the game, the first 50 or so hours of the 100 line. And I put out a tweet this week because I knew people would ask this question. I hate it. I know people hate it when you say it gets good after 10 hours. The 100 line is good from moment one. It is a good game. It is an excellent strategy game, way better than it has any right to be for the visual novel genre. But it gets crazy good when the credits roll. So get excited. This game is crazy. I love it to death. I probably am only, if this halfway through it at this point in time. It might be the longest visual novel ever made.
I've seen other people say that. So
But
I don't think you're alone. Yeah.
but it goes places that are unexpected. It does it well, and it really examines the entire kind of history of visual novel games in a way that I can't even properly describe without giving away some of its coolest bits. But if
Nice.
you're at all interested in this, and if you can stand kind of arch Japanese anime characterization, like the far end of, oh, this person is so depressed that he's just going to self-deprecate every time you talk to him, or this person is so crazy they're going to mention killing games all the time, whatever it is, they're the arch versions of all these characterizations, which is what is necessary for what they actually run in this story. But I love it to death. Couldn't recommend it more. Even if some of the stuff that it does in the second half here, I don't love as much as other things, which is basically a part of the function of this game that I can't go into in more detail. But buy it if you're interested. It's well worth it. Plays great on Switch too, as you would expect from a visual novel. But enjoy it. Love that game. The other one that I wanted to mention that I'm also loving this week is a game that Travis mentioned because he played it in previews, I think a year or two ago, from 11-Bit Studios called The Alters, which is amazing. It's an amazing game. File it under that kind of amazing indie game space that you're keeping Expedition 33 in. It is this enormous ideas-based game from a small team that uses its assets well, where you are stranded on an alien planet of some kind with a special material that helps things grow really fast, and you use that to make alternate versions of yourself in order to do the various things that you need around your base. And if that sounds intriguing to you at all, they go into the narrative bits of that. It's not just a game conceit. They really do examine what this technology would mean and how you interact with your various versions of yourself, how they would have gotten to that place. You get different life streams that you can examine in parallel dimensions, how those parallel dimensions work when they're only memories that were created by a computer, and all these various other questions that, if you're interested in science fiction like I am, are very exciting to have examined in a video game, while also experiencing kind of survival adventure elements and colony management sim. It is the craziest thing. It is fantastic, and I cannot speak highly enough about The Alters. I think that's it. I said I would keep it brief.
You did. Good job. Alters is very highly reviewed, right? I think it's like in the mid to high 80s from a review standpoint, and I see a lot of people raving about it. So, yeah, Travis, you got to preview that one very early. So it sounds like it turned out extremely well, which is awesome to see.
That's what I hear. Yeah, Dan Stapleton reviewed that one, and I got to check in with him to see if it turned out as good as I had hoped, and he was like, "Yep, it's awesome." And I think my preview of that game sold him on claiming it for himself as a review. So,
for a review. Nice.
Yeah, I have not played it at all, but I did the preview and checked in with it a few times in between then, and basically had no doubt that this thing was going to be sick. And so it's on my list of games to play eventually.
It is in fact sick.
I will play it
That's the review I'll give it.
eventually. Yeah, I could tell, man. I mean, sometimes you play a game early and you're just like, I know that they've got something special here. I'm stoked for it. The Alters was one of those, and it's been living in my head rent free since that preview event. So I'm really excited to play the finished product.
Nice, very cool.
When you described it to me a couple of years ago, or I don't even know, maybe early last year, I thought that idea was crazy enough that it must be kind of low rent, like indie development where you're not spending all the resources on it because that's a nutty idea. And it really is that kind of AA, almost AAA kind of feeling title that is really special in games. And it's amazing that we got two of them essentially in the same quarter, because it really does fall into that Expedition 33 range in my head of, this is what I want to see, is crazy people doing crazy things, mortgaging their house, whatever it is. We see these stories from the people that make the 100 line that they had to essentially bet the whole company on this thing. I don't know whether it's going to work out for them, but please do try the game if you're interested. And I love it to death. The Alters is another one of those games where people say gaming is dying or it's flat or stagnated. And I say, I don't know what you're looking at, because gaming is fantastic. And these things are all coming out. They're just not coming out from the big studios that you expect them to come from.
Yeah.
And they never have.
Which is the story of Summer Game Fest that we're going to get to, honestly.
My least favorite show of the weekend. I know that technically all the shows are part of like the Summer Game Fest sequence. I could not possibly have been more disappointed in the Keeley show.
Wow. Okay, well, we'll get to it. One quick mention, though, is Alters, which you mentioned, is on Game Pass as well, which I
console?
either for.
Is it on console at all?
I'm playing it on the PlayStation 5.
Nice. Okay, it is on console.
Oh, the
Sweet.
game's on console. Yeah, I don't. It's definitely on Game Pass PC. Someone could correct me. I think it's on Game Pass for all, but you can check.
There's no reason it wouldn't be on the Xbox Game Pass. Honestly, the curation team at Xbox is fantastic. They are finding these gems and putting them on Game Pass.
It's been bonkers, honestly. The past few months of Game Pass have been the best, I think, since its inception, hands down. It's wild. So, all right, let's get. We got one super chat that just came in from New Zombie. We'll get that before we start, so it doesn't sit forever here.
New _ zombie $4.99 super chat. Happy Father's Day.
$400.99. Is that what you said?
Is that what I said? $4.99 super
okay.
chat. You should
give Ains up.
You should give
that'd be welcome.
Though. Happy Father's Day, Ains and Hogue. Good people, good dads, I'm sure. Thank you for your service. Saluting man with half a face. I wish my dad played video games.
Where's his half a face?
Half a face.
He only has half a face. Look at the emoji.
I see 2 eyes.
2 eyes and a mouth with his hand up. What are you looking at?
Wow, you. Oh my God. Look at the one on Look at the one on the other screen.
I'm looking at both. They both have 2 eyes and a mouth.
Girl, I'm not smoking.
Are your glasses
here.
working?
Let me give you a little. Let me break you off for previews of the remix right here. I got a screenshot.
Yes, I feel like I'm being a good dad by ignoring my daughter to record this podcast right now, but I appreciate the well wishes.
Check it. Check your.
Where are you sending this?
What's it called? Signal.
Oh, our Bitcast chat.
Look at that.
This is great. This is great content for this is great content for a live show. By the way, we're
share your screen. Share your screen. Show them the emoji.
Don't share your signal.
No, I'm not doing that. But thank you.
Show our chat history.
No, we just have to have good live stream etiquette. You don't just start pulling random windows. That's a bad idea.
Zombie said it is half a face on iPhone. So I don't know what you're on right now, but there you go.
I'm on. Oh, does that matter? I mean, I'm just on StreamYard. I was reading it out of StreamYard, but I do see.
It does matter because the different platforms use different versions of saluting face or what have you.
But I see.
But I'm on StreamYard and I see the whole thing, so I'm confused.
Yes.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Travis says this all the time, but there's no way he's looking at this picture of what we're actually broadcasting to the world and saying that's half a face.
Yeah. No, I see it on when I look in the YouTube comments, I see a full face going like this.
Fair enough.
You don't really get the arm, do you? It kind of just looks like maybe he's shading his eyes.
Just a hover hand.
Yeah, literally. Hover hand. Zombie, thank you so much. Appreciate the super chat. All right.
Good talk. Thank you, listeners who can't see any of this, by the way.
Yeah, thank you, audio listeners, for hanging with us through the nonsense. Let's get to the whole weekend recap, to your point, Hogue. But you know what's funny is, and we'll start with show thoughts. And you said you were really disappointed in this one. I was in the theater for it with the group, just like last year, and we left and we were all kind of like, okay, you know what I mean? Like it was fine. I went back this morning as I was going through the notes and I kind of looked through all the games that were shown. And I'm like, maybe I do this a lot, right? Is you reflect on all the games that were shown. It's like, maybe this was better than I gave it credit for initially, but we'll talk through it. So why were you so disappointed in this one?
Honestly, I just praised the game industry for having all these new ideas and all this crazy stuff that I love. This was the most samey feeling show of the weekend. Everything felt kind of grimdark. Everything felt like it was just on the verge of being a Souls game or fighting geometric monsters or gooey monsters or some combination of those things. And it just all felt like it blended together and there was nothing to get excited about for almost the entire runtime until Resident Evil 9. And even that, having the like prank video in the middle of the show is like silly. I know that must have been what Capcom wanted, but it doesn't make you feel good.
The prank video meaning like the fake out of the Resident Evil reveal.
Yes, here we're gonna talk about Resident Evil 9 when it's ready. Like I don't know, a half hour before they put the Resident Evil 9 trailer in. So it was.
You guys remember the DoorDash commercial?
No.
Oh my God. Were you were in the room for that, Ains, right? Where he was like, what game was he talking about? Where he said, "Speaking
what
of
year are we talking about? Wasn't this year, right?
this year, yeah, this year."
You guys talk about Summer Game Fest show, and I feel like I passed out in the middle because that's how bored I was.
I mean, it's quite possible. It is a 3.5 hour show. It's easy to forget things, but yeah, it was
Yeah,
this
no,
year.
I
It
don't
was
remember.
really
I
fun.
will tell you, the middle of the show did have a lull, right? And we were sitting in the audience, and I'm already tired, from traveling and stuff, and you're sitting there, and you're just like, But yeah, I don't remember the DoorDash thing.
It was really funny. I'm gonna send it to you guys.
Okay.
It was
Anyway,
Talk about it on this live show.
So let me call out. There's a few things here. I could talk about a lot of this, but there's a few things so I don't spend half an hour on one show. So let's start with Resident Evil, right? That's the big one. So Requiem is coming. That is the official name of Resident Evil 9. It is coming in February 27th.
Yeah.
So fortunately, I got to be part of the Capcom behind the scenes stuff. So I saw Onimusha, Pragmata. We got hands on with Pragmata and Resident Evil Requiem, which was about a 15 to 18 minute, somewhere in there, demonstration of actual gameplay. They showed us behind closed doors. They have not shared it yet. I even looked at the press assets they sent. It doesn't have it. So let me just tell you, when I talk about this, was probably the best 4 or 5 day weekend of game playing I've had at one of these shows, and I've been doing this in person since 2018, so 7 years now. It was, to Hoag's earlier point, a perfect highlight of all these other studios and other developers that are coming up with these games and just blowing the doors off, because everything I played was really fun. Everything looked really good. It all ran really well. But even all of that said, nothing topped Resident Evil Requiem for me over the weekend. Seeing the gameplay, and they had their own theater, a little Capcom mini theater with a big screen, right, and sound. And the producer was with us, and they walked us through this gameplay section. It was phenomenal. It's very clear that it was running on PlayStation 5 Pro. It looked absolutely staggering from a gameplay perspective, as they showed us at the tail end, which was obviously announced this week. You are able to toggle third and first person perspective in real time from the menu. So whichever one you prefer, the debate is over at this point. You can play how you prefer to play. It is primarily designed, like the UI, what you look and feel, as like 7 and 8, like the first person. But the third person, when he switched to it, looked just like you would expect, like RE2 remake, RE3 remake. It looked and played just like that. But the sequence of events that they showed us, and the monster and the creepiness of being chased, and just the fidelity, everything about it was phenomenal. It was like Resident Evil meets PT meets, they stressed multiple times that they are going for their most horror experience ever. And I think they maybe heard the feedback from Village, which was House Benevito was, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but you know what I mean, was considered, was really considered like the peak of that game, that section, right, that chapter. And it feels like they're trying to take that and extract it and make that the focus for Requiem as a whole. So anyway, I won't go on any more about it, but it is, we left that theater like blown away. And that was true of everyone I spoke to. So if you like Resident Evil, be excited.
That would be cool. I'm not sure whether I like that direction that you just described, Ains, because I feel like the jump scare, constant horror and stress is not actually what Resident Evil does best. They kind of do this pop summer blockbuster horror best. Yeah. And so I'll be interested to see whether that sustains for the long term of a game. But I'm certainly the most excited at Summer Game Fest about the Resident Evil 9 reveal. And I'm glad to hear that it looks great. I was super glad to see that it had a pretty recent or pretty early release date set in stone. Yeah, so I'm hopeful that they get something like that. And I'm looking forward to it. I've loved the series from its beginning. I am pretty sure it will be a good time when it comes out.
Yeah, there's a little obviously no spoilers, but there's a little misdirection they do in the demo they showed us, where you think you're safe in this hand. There's a screenshot you can see in our preview. There's this giant hand that comes across the screen, and you turn around, this monster sitting there. And then typical kind of Nemesis fashion, RE2 remake, Jack from 7, right? Just chasing you basically. And like you could feel the hair standing up as you were watching it. Like it was so tense, but it just, yeah, it was stunning. Absolutely stunning.
What
and
hair?
I think I think being able to play in third and first person is awesome, right? I think they finally kind of just hopefully have solved that. So whatever you prefer, you can just play it that way, which is cool. Pragmata, I can't talk about personally because Alex and Ray played that, who were part of SG. I had to go to Mixtape, which I'll touch on in a second. But we will have a preview of Pragmata on the site this week, which you can read and check out. And yes, we did play it. So feedback was very, very positive. In fact, I talked to a few people. Shout out to Joe at Trophy Room. Shout out to Luke at Xbox Expansion Pass. All our friends that have been on the show. Everyone did get to play Pragmata, who was part of the Capcom thing, and the feedback was very positive. So yeah, look forward to that. And then Onimusha, we saw a lot of as well. The Way of the Sword, the new one, of course, looks pretty much as you would expect. It looks really good. I liked what I saw. The gameplay, the combat. They showed a boss battle, which had a lot of personality to it, and really what you expect from Onimusha. I can't tell. And this is going to drive Hogue nuts, I'm sure. I can't tell if they're going a little more Souls-like, to throw that word out.
I did see an interview that said that they're not doing that,
okay.
but you don't know until you play it, certainly.
Of course, because the boss battle they showed was, it looked to be more of that kind of like dashing parry counter type thing. But it wasn't a huge demonstration. So the rest of the game looked like you would expect from Onimusha, which I love. I love the classic Onimusha. So
well, to your point, Ains, the PlayStation State of Play that got announced and dropped the same week as all this during our not so extended, but extended for game purposes hiatus, had a trailer for Neo 3, which is more of a Souls model. And then the trailer in Summer Games Fest for Onimusha blended so much with what we just saw of Neo 3 to me in my head that I couldn't tell whether we were seeing a different look at Neo when they had their Onimusha trailer, because almost all these trailers have the title at the end, right? And so they have very similar vibes in trailer form. I would be surprised if they do in game form, but it certainly was a point that I noted while I was watching.
Are you moving paper right now?
I'm trying to take notes so I don't step on people's toes.
I thought that was funny.
Thank you for calling me out.
Good. I really like that. That was good. I was like, it sounded like you were like flipping through. You were like, I want to talk about these games.
I gotta find Onimusha. Where is it?
Feverishly flipping through this like giant portfolio you've written.
I'm trying, as I always do, Travis, for self-improvement, so I don't cut off your salient gems.
Okay.
No, you're good. I forgot to mention actually currently playing. So Neo 3 does have an alpha demo on PlayStation 5 exclusively right now. I did play it briefly. Feels like Neo. The thing I'm most excited about with Neo 3 is the more open spaces they talked about. That was my biggest complaint with Neo 1 and 2, but I don't think that the alpha gives you a good sense of that. So I'm excited for that, but we'll see. Obviously, more to come. Let's see what's some other. So Travis, all of us were wrong about this one. Arc Raiders. So it's coming in late October, which I think I have a conspiracy theory for, but hear me out. But the interesting thing about this, I had dinner with a bunch of different outlets, prior to the show when we got there on Thursday. And multiple people I spoke to, based on the store updates we saw on Epic, Steam, and Xbox, and all this stuff that leaked, felt like Arc Raiders was getting announced and released, or at least having another beta that weekend. And all we get is a trailer, which really was just a trailer, and a release date in October, which seemed very odd to me. And then the more I thought about it, so hear me out and let me know if I'm crazy. I probably am.
Sure.
Marathon's current release date is currently September, still, as of this moment.
Is
anyway.
it?
I know, but as of this moment, it's still September. So I think what Arc Raiders is saying is basically they can spend the next 6 months or 4 months, give or take, of polishing, getting it prepped for launch, tuning up anything they needed to tune up, beta feed or alpha feedback, whatever you call it, beta feedback. And then they're basically throwing the gauntlet down in October to basically say, if you want to release in September, go ahead and we'll show you up a month later and take that audience, or you're going to delay and we're still going to be the primary extraction shooter in the fall. And I think that probably a smart move. I think that they obviously got all the positive press like we talked about, but it is weird to see this game still however many months away, 5 months away.
Yeah, it kind of feels like a mistake to me. I mean, people kind of are expecting these games to get developed over time anyway, and we've definitely seen games in this genre release with a lot less featureful. But to your point, I don't think that they feel a lot of pressure. I think maybe they're deciding to take their time because they no longer feel like it's going to be a horse race, which is probably fair. I don't think anybody has a lot of faith in Marathon, their ability to actually hit the release date they're aiming for, which I think is at this point pretty much a foregone conclusion that they won't. And then even if they do hit it, I think they're going to be in a much more incomplete state than Arc Raiders. Arc Raiders is very clearly, I mean, the builds that I have played of both of those games, Arc Raiders feels like a much more developed version of the game. Like you can just tell you've played enough incomplete builds of games as I have. Like Arc Raiders felt like it was pretty close to getting finished, right? So yeah, it's interesting time. I think October's probably later than they should release it, but at this point probably doesn't matter all that much because Marathon's in trouble.
Yeah, it was just weird. It seemed everyone thought it was coming out, and there we go.
I mean, I said as soon as I played the beta, I was like, this game's basically done. I think it's going to come out this summer. I was thinking August, but yeah, we'll see.
I don't know. No, I was thinking August. You were saying June.
You did say June, didn't you?
Yes. I said I think it's coming out like way sooner than people think it is, but yeah. Later seems weird.
Yeah, it does, but here we are. So I'm looking through this list here. Let me shout this one out because you guys should be excited about this one. And probably the most fun I had playing a game all weekend, and I'm not saying this sarcastically, I'm being honest, is Lego Party. Lego Party was hilarious. It is essentially Mario Party with more craziness, really fun mini games, more stuff that can happen on the map, like more in-depth maps. But it's every modern console with cross-play and cross-progression across all systems, so you can play online multiplayer with each other. But I played with two of the people I was with, and then just another outlet. And literally that booth, there were 4 sections for Lego Party in the middle of the floor. All you heard the entire weekend was laughing and screaming from that area. It was so much fun to play. It surprised the living hell out of me. So
I have to say, I saw this trailer, and I don't think calling your Mario Party clone Lego Party does a lot to suggest creativity to me. So that was my thought as I watched this, was really you're going to name it Lego Party, and it didn't look all that different from a Mario Party setup. And so much of that depends on how the actual mini games play and how your boards are arranged. That Mario Party Jamboree is my favorite Mario Party in, I don't know, maybe a decade. It seems unlikely that Lego Party would be able to hit that same level in this near term, but I could be wrong. I don't have any personal knowledge of this game. So if people were liking it at the show, that's good. But I do think, in particular, that kind of game in a conference setting has more chance of success than it will in my living room.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And if you only play in person on site, maybe, right? I think one of the biggest problems with Mario Party is it's trapped on a Nintendo console. And I don't say that sarcastically. I mean that it's not on any other platform, right? Where I think with this coming out on everything and being able to play online, like the 3 of us could play online together, would be awesome. But no, it surprised me. I didn't expect, we had an appointment. I was like, I'll try it. Let's see what happens. And I did not expect to have that much fun. And I think part of what makes it more fun is not only were the mini games we played really cool, like different, but the map itself, literally every round, there's something changing on the map. They can like change shape. Crazy events can happen. It's much more changes and happens over the course of each round than what I've typically seen out of Mario Party, which I love, by the way. I love Mario Party.
You know, that's good to hear. So that's the kind of thing I like.
I actually think Mario Party has suffered from a lack of competition in that space because there aren't a lot of games like it. And it seems like a space that there's a lot of room for, because I mean, we've watched Mario Party basically not evolve and not feel any pressure to do so over decades at this point. And so I don't know if this game is going to be good, but I welcome a little bit more competition in this space. We should have more games like Mario Party, and the people at Nintendo should feel like, you know, hopefully they're behind the curve a little bit and that they have a reason to innovate, you know?
Yeah.
I also like Jamboree though.
Yeah, no, I think there was a nadir. There was a low point for the Mario Party series, and I think we're out of it. Jamboree is excellent.
Awesome. I wanted to shout that one out. Just looking through here, so couple others. So I did get to play Mixtape, which is the Beethoven and Dinosaur developer that did what's the
Artful
guitar
Escape.
one? Artful
Artful
Escape.
Escape.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So if you've played Artful Escape for any period of time, you kind of know very unique. They are going for a completely different vibe than most games. So this is the premise is it's the early 90s. You are a high school teenager graduating and getting ready to move away from your small town. And it's all about you creating a mixtape with real music, you know, famous music from the 80s and 90s or early 90s, basically 80s, to basically go through your experience. And so I played 3 chapters, one where you're like running from the cops in a shopping cart, one where you're skateboarding, one where you're hanging out in a bedroom. And it's a very much like teenage life in the early 90s, rebel with music type of experience. It's definitely going for something very unique, but it was very engaging. And so I saw a lot of positivity about this at Summer Game Fest. I think it's going to be one of those experiences that some just adore and cherish forever, and then other people are like, "This is not a game for me at all." So it's going to be one of those two things. But it was, it's very neat, and to our point we talk about here all the time, I like to see developers doing unique things. It is unique, if nothing else.
Yeah, and I think Artful Escape is good. I don't think of it as terribly unique in and of itself, that game, not this game, which I haven't played, because I think the indie space is pretty replete with kind of musical coming-of-age combo platters, whether it's in the dating space, a platformer like Artful Escape or something else. It tends to be a vibe they go for. Even this game, Mixtape, I keep getting it confused in my head with Lost Records, which I just played, which is about being in the 90s and having a VHS camcorder and recording your coming of age experience. So this, I don't know where to put this. I don't know what kind of game it is because the trailers just showed you in a shopping cart and kind of moving through space, but what is it?
It's very like, it's more like interaction based than like hardcore actually playing, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of times where you're just, a little more, yeah, but kind of faster pace. So, for instance, on the shopping cart, like you're racing through town, obviously very unrealistic, you know, racing away from cops, and you're just steering the cart.
Okay,
that's your interaction. The other part was like walking around a bedroom, inspecting things, which is giving you memories with your friends and playing different music, right? And each chapter has a specific song that the concept is that the main girl, the protagonist, is getting ready to move away to become a music production person. You know, she wants to get into that space, and she has like an ear for picking the perfect music for the scene. And so that's what the whole game is kind of designed around. That's why it's called Mixtape.
She's having these memories informed by these songs. Now, suppose hypothetically that you hate The Clash or something along those lines. Is this game still going to work, or is that so dominant that it's not going to work for you now?
Good question. Don't really know. Because there's plenty, like, for instance, The Cure, right? Famous band from us growing up, Hogue, has a big following. I've always hated The Cure. I can't stand listening to The Cure. So at some point in Mixtape, you're going to play a whole chapter, which may be 10 minutes. Chapters are pretty short, but you're going to play one where the song playing the whole time is The Cure. You know what I mean? And so I'm going to be like, oh God, I got to listen to this now. But you know, so that can happen for sure. But I think it's more about the total kind of overarching, how it pieces together type thing.
So it's really going to depend on how the story goes more, because the action is slight. It's a narrative driven game.
Agreed.
And
yes,
I like Artful Escape, but it maybe didn't connect with me as much as I would have hoped. So this one will go in the maybe wait and see pile for me.
Yeah. And again, I believe, if I recall, someone can correct me, I believe this is also releasing on Game Pass. So another one that you can just kind of check out and try when it releases if you want to. So Oh my god, I played and saw so many of these games, guys. I'm trying to pick out the ones that make the most sense.
Okay.
Is this podcast sponsored by Game Pass, by the way? Do we
I,
do we have
I think
mean,
the
I
gaming
have to
industry
mention
might
it,
be
right?
sponsored by Game Pass.
do we have
Yeah, I
that
have
Game
to
Pass
mention it.
money? Do we have it?
I wish we had that Game Pass money. Let's talk about Luminous Arise.
Luminous.
Um,
Hopefully, I didn't just blow off the
Easily.
mic with that, folks. I'm sorry. I get
No, you're
excited
good.
about puzzle games.
No. That was appropriate because this, outside of seeing Resident Evil 9, as I just said, kind of blew me away. This was probably the best thing I played.
I love
this,
Luminous.
You are gonna go nuts. I sat with the developer. I sat with the Iron Lords, or King over at the Iron Lords, and we played this together. He was actually, I had headphones on. I was jamming out. The music's phenomenal, right? And the level, how it incorporates the entire experience is phenomenal. And all of a sudden, I hear him talking behind me of like, I'm screwing it up. And so we had a good banter back and forth, and then I swapped with him and he played. But I absolutely adored this. It is, the design of it is everything you expect as a combination of like classic Luminous, but with that kind of really, I don't know the word I'm looking for here, but the music and the beat and the rhythm and what's going on the screen all coming together, kind of like Tetris effect, right?
Yeah.
Connected. It was just phenomenal. And all I could think the whole time playing it was, playing this on a proper like theater or virtual reality like PSVR 2 is going to be mind blowing, because it was that fun. And everyone who played it that I talked to, because I played with King, he was the same, Joe over at Trophy Room, all the people I talked to were just infatuated with this game. So be excited if you're a Luminous fan or Tetris Effect Connected fan, because this one was phenomenal.
Yeah, Tetris Effect was one of my games of the year that year that it released. So I'm excited about this team.
You're going to love
some
this.
Luminous stuff.
Yeah, you're going to love it. Seriously, I was blown away. And I think what's really unique about it is it does some really unique things. It's not just Tetris where you're just dropping blocks in the traditional way, right? And Effect obviously had different things too, but this has some very unique ways in the way you can manage the levels. Ridiculous kind of artistry and what's going on the screen and stuff. And it's just, amazing. So
yeah,
I
they're
can't wait
puzzle
for that
games
one.
and they're art pieces. I love it. Luminous. Get excited.
Yeah, see, look, Joe just screaming Luminous Arise in the chat. Like, trust me, this one is incredible.
Do we have a release window for that?
It's this year. Yeah, so so many developers I talked to when I asked them that about after playing the game was like, this year, we're not saying anything more. That's what like every one of them said. So
our business suits still have us worried about Grand Theft Auto making a surprise jump scare. So
yeah, maybe. What else? We have let me talk real quick about Mouse PI. You remember this one? So
I feel like it has been in pre-release state for my entire lifetime at this
couple
point.
years. Yeah,
that
a couple
is
years.
the Cuphead effect, right? It seems to happen in these kinds of games.
So what this is, I got a closed door session on this. You couldn't play it. Everyone just got to see a chapter of this game. So it is a traditional first-person shooter structure. So chapter by chapter, level by level, first-person shooter where the levels have secrets you can find and paths you can take, but it's playing out a story over the course of the game. Very, very cool looking, as you've seen from the videos. It looks like it's going to be an awful lot of fun. The animation, seeing it in person, like reload animation, swapping guns, shooting, all these different things. Very, very cool. So I liked what I saw out of this one. A lot of fun. Again, no release date, same thing. But if you like the look of that and traditional first-person shooter structure, you definitely want to check that one out. We have previews of Blighted, Last Flag, and a couple others on our site. So I'll just refer you to SG to check some of those out. Stranger Than Heaven. I know you guys have to be pumped about that one. So that's RGG's Project Century. We now know the title is Stranger Than Heaven. I mean,
honestly,
phenomenal.
I didn't recognize the title even looking at your list here. And I did remember that Project Century got a name.
Yeah. So what did you think about that one?
I don't know what to think about it. Right, I don't know what to think about Project Century in its entirety at this point, because they have the wildly different time frames. Presumably, it's hinting that they're going to have this same space evolve over the course of a narrative of some kind. I love RGG games, so I think this is a must-buy for me. but I don't know what this is even going for at this point in time. They've been so mysterious about it.
Yeah, I think it looks incredible. I think the time frame, like you said, I like the setting a lot. This was not shown additionally at the show. So what we got at the showcase was it. So I can't give you any more details than what we saw from the trailer. But obviously RGG's been crushing it. So no reason the data won't be great. So
speaking of RGG, I should have mentioned in terms of the Switch games that are now portable that a Switch 1 couldn't play, they did make Yakuza 0 Final Cut available on Switch 2 launch day.
Yes.
And that's one of my favorite Yakuza games ever. So again, this launch is different, and it doesn't have a lot of first-party support because it's just Mario Kart World and Welcome Tour, but it has a lot of things for a lot of different fans of games. So I love this Switch 2 launch. I said that at the top. I'll say it again here. RGG is represented. I also got a portable version of Kunitsugami, which was one of my favorites of last year. That is excellent in that space. Has mouse support that I haven't used. But just really, really fun games of a certain style and size that are now available on your portable system.
Cool. Sorry, I was on mute. Just chatting away here. What do you guys think about Munfish here? So Munfish had a big show, right? Atomic Heart 2 they announced. And they announced the Cube, which is a separate game that is actually an MMO. So the Cube is this kind of evolving world. They call it the Cube because it's like shifting landscapes. But it's a large-scale MMO. And then obviously they announced the Atomic Heart 2 sequel. I think what I'm concerned about is Atomic Heart, when they first showed the trailer for that years ago now, what playing that game did not translate from watching that initial trailer, right? Like they didn't seem, in my opinion, to really deliver on that vision. And so I'm seeing this vision where the Atomic Heart 2 trailer looks incredible. It looks crazy as hell, just like Atomic Heart, the first one. And then I'm seeing the Cube. And in theory, these look like things I would love and really play the hell out of. But I'm not confident Munfish is going to be able to deliver on that promise. Does that make sense?
Yes. Well, I like Atomic Heart as a game. Where I separate from it is that I think the writing is really weird and not what I like from a story. So when I look at these games, they are in that kind of place where I say, I think it'll be enjoyable to play. I think they will get most of the kind of moment to moment, walking down the hallway, shooting robots, whatever, feel correct. I think that'll be enjoyable. But like, I don't want to be sexually harassed by my item vendor. Like all the various things that happen in Atomic Heart.
We're still talking about the game?
Yes.
Okay.
All these things that happen in Atomic Heart, I think just hit a little bit wrong. And I have no reason to believe that that's been fixed or changed from this company. So what hits a little bit wrong for me might hit just right for you. I don't know. But Atomic Heart.
For example, I do
better.
like to be sexually harassed by my item vendors.
Okay. Well,
And
Date
you are
Everything
not
comes
talking
out
about
next
the
week,
game.
Travis.
Look, I use my sexual. I feel empowered. It's nice. You know?
By the way,
Where-
Date Everything made it onto my list of things to watch the release date for after you talked about it last year, Travis. So I do know that comes out
I'm
next
on the
week.
review. I'm on the review, and honestly,
Of course you are.
what I do is like you guys will not be surprised to learn this, but like Felt That Boxing, like I immediately got put on that review as soon as that trailer went out. Like,
Oh,
It
yeah,
also
I was
felt
going to
like
mention
Travis.
yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as I
looks
saw it, like
hilarious.
Tom texted me, he was like, "There's a Travis game." I was like, "Yep, absolutely." So looking forward to playing that
I
one.
still don't know what that game is.
That's okay. I'll tell you.
Okay.
that.
I just have to
It
take
looks
it on
like
faith.
Punch Out. It looks like Punch Out with Muppets, basically.
Punch Out with Muppets and goofiness. Yeah, that's definitely
Yeah.
a Travis game. We'll see, man. I don't know. We're all just we're out eating.
I see some people in the chat saying they hope the Cube is good so it can kind of give competition to Destiny. What do you think about that, Travis?
Is
I
that
have
where it's
no
aimed
thoughts
at?
about that.
It's an MMO. So, I mean, it's going for a shooter space MMO with sci-fi and crazy abilities. I mean, I guess.
Does Destiny need competition?
I mean, Destiny needs to be put out to pasture.
Destiny
Yeah,
needs something.
I agree.
It's
Yeah,
probably that. Yeah.
I think they're having enough trouble without the competition. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know that they really need another thing to put pressure on them.
But no, I think it was cool to see a company like Munfish, and I believe they also had like like most of these publishers that get to a certain size, they're opening up like an independent publishing arm, right? There were a couple that had like an unfinished publishing tag on them. So they were clearly a big sponsor of the Keeley vision. But I think it could be good. I like a lot of what Atomic Heart does as a video game. I just don't like how they wrote it.
The protagonist was especially annoying. Agreed. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Quick shout out to something that already fell out of my head.
I use the note paper that Travis calls out.
Yeah, see, I need the papers. Spine, which is the game we got a trailer for that they call it Gung Fu or Gun Fu. So I did get to play that, and I actually sat with the co-CEO of that studio. It's their first game. They're a small studio out of a country I'm forgetting. I apologize. She was super nice, and we talked through, it's pretty janky because they're not going for release until late 2026. So this has some time in development yet. But if essentially think of Sifu meets John Wick. And if those things interest you, merge together, you're probably going to like Spine.
Their clips are always fantastic looking.
And in all seriousness, playing through it, not only was it fun, but the kind of John Wick, animated kill shots and everything. I probably killed like 50, 60, 70 people in that short demo I played. And the animations were almost all unique. Like, it is shocking how well the animations are done in that game. And from what she told me, the founder, they do their own animation work. So like they don't, I believe she was explaining, like they don't use some other engine or mocap process to do the animations. They do it themselves. And I was really, really impressed with it. So just keep an eye on that one. It's a long ways away, but it was a lot of fun. A lot of people seem to be vibing with it at the show. So
yeah, it is one I've been watching for a while because they've had a strong social media presence, and it always looks impressive, like every little clip. So
it was
I hope
cool.
The game plays out that way.
Yeah, and if you know John Wick 4, right, if you're a fan of the movies, one of the most famous scenes in John Wick 4 is when it goes overhead and he's walking through the rooms with the shotgun, right? It actually does that in the demo I played. So like it reverted and you're like walking through and doing all these things. It was cool, man. I really liked it. Lastly, shout out to friends Danny Pena and setting up Brass Lion Entertainment and announcing Wu-Tang officially. So that was a big thing for them. They left the show. They had swapped on to their Brass Lion Entertainment and Wu-Tang shirts, which was pretty cool. So I know that one's kind of been on the burner for a while now. So good to see them get to announce it and celebrate it. Really cool. There's more games to talk about here. Just keep an eye on SG. We've got a bunch of previews still to do. We got a bunch of content still to put up. So, but that was Summer Game Fest. The showcase and the games from that specific showcase. There's other things like Mafia, Old Country, Dying Light, The Beast, Blighted, Ill. There's a bunch of other stuff there too. But
Ains, you can tell me if this is right, but in my quick live search here, it suggests that maybe Spine is made by a company in Cyprus.
Oof, maybe.
Okay.
I think I was so tired by that point. Maybe I just forgot. But yeah, it's definitely somewhere that, I'd forgotten. So, but that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's their first game.
I've forgotten.
I mean, she told me I was sitting right next to her playing because she was kind of asking me for feedback while I was playing because you could tell it's still pretty early. But I was really, really impressed. So. All right. So I know there's other shows. Let's jump to the Xbox show and then we can just talk about other games. From the other showcases, because there's a bunch of smaller showcases too that I don't want to skip over. But the Xbox showcase, and let me get this super chat real quick from Asante before we get into this.
Okay, Asante, $5 super chat, or maybe 500. We don't know. He also has a saluting face. It's half a face if you're on iPhone, apparently. Here's to Ains and the community, capital C. It's an organization, I assume.
I think they're just fans of the show.
Yeah, we're formal. Very formal.
No, they're the community, like the board, Like
no, they're the community watch party crew. They just watch old Joel McHale content.
Oh, I see. Okay. They watch the show. Okay. Here's to Ains and the community watch party crew for putting on an exceptional show. If you didn't attend, you don't know how special these humans are.
That's a nice comment. Thank you, Asante.
I don't know. but I would have liked to have been there. It's just a long way away.
So
It's not a
essentially,
long way away from me. I just didn't want to see you.
yeah, thanks, buddy.
welcome.
So we put on a watch party for the Xbox Showcase in a theater in LA. It was a small group of us who did this. We've been working on it for weeks, and it is more of a task than we ever anticipated. I can't believe it came together. It was chaos up until the last minute from Saturday night. We left there at like 1 a.m. Saturday night, got back there at 6 a.m. I got a couple hours sleep, and then we literally had over 100 people lined up outside the door, and we were supposed to open the doors. We were supposed to start our pre-show podcast with Paris Lilly, Daniel Penna, his wife Rihanna, and Khalif Adams. And we were like, I swear, we had like audio bugs. We couldn't get the camera set up properly. And like Ray from SG, who you know, Travis, of course, you're friends with. Credit to him, because him being a professional and really knowing how this shit works, he's the one who made it really come together in the last minute. So without him, we would have been screwed. But it did come together. We had a fantastic time. There was about 150, give or take, so of us in the room. Aaron Greenberg from Xbox, Jason Ronald from Xbox, some of the other Xbox team members joined us. And there's a lot of content and video and reaction stuff to come from that show that hasn't been shared yet. But it was a real blast. So
Does Ray live in SoCal, or is he still up in LA?
Ray lives in San Francisco.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
Man, why don't I see
He actually
guy?
he was very happy because while in LA, he got news that they closed on their house. They just bought a house in San Fran.
Nice. Yeah. In the city?
Yeah, in the city.
Wow, look at him.
Yeah. I'm not going to say any details, of course, on the show, but yes, he was him and his wife.
Do you know what neighborhood it's in?
No. It's not time for this, Travis. Okay, you can talk to him offline.
we can chat. What's you have all these artificial rules about what we can and can't talk about on the show? Okay, we're just trying to live out here.
Credit to Asante, because after the showcase, Aaron Greenberg took the stage and talked for like an hour, and then I was supposed to host a section with the community. And I was so dead, I could barely stand up. And I just went to Asante, who's a very charismatic person, awesome human being himself. And I said, man, can you please just run this for me? Because I can't do it. I'm dead. And he took the stage and he called people up. We shared stories. We did giveaways. It was a fantastic time. So credit to him as well. Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah, it was awesome. So anyway, the Xbox Showcase itself, for those watching from home, which is obviously everyone but the 150 people in that room, what did you think about this as a show overall?
Good show.
Okay.
A lot of detail there.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I think it's mid-range. I think there have been stronger Xbox shows very recently, and this one was not one of those. So okay. I thought it was okay. Honestly, Xbox has given out so many games in the last 6 months that it feels like we're in the between times, and they're trying not to have these multi-year long reveals anymore, which I think is good, but it means that things are going to be slow for a little while we catch up to things like the Resident Evil 9 reveal, where you have the 6 to 8 month window rather than this comes out sometime in the future. I was really surprised, for instance, to not see anything from Fable. I know they're working hard on it, but that game was supposed to come out in 2 months. So you'd think that they had something more ready to go to show us, and that one not being there was a big surprise to me. And I never try to count what isn't there against these shows, but it is noticeable when a game that gets delayed right out of the window when it should have had its big blowout doesn't have even a teaser or anything at the show. So that's one thing that I did note. I thought it was a little bit less bland than the Summer Games Fest show, and there were our standouts. I think Clockwork Revolution continues to look interesting.
Yes.
But In Exile, I don't know whether I didn't know that it was going to be mostly a shooter. I don't know how that's going to play out. I don't know whether I trust them with that kind of game dynamic. We'll see. But from a story perspective, from a world perspective, that game looks cool. I know we've got a sequel announcement for Travis's favorite game in the history of Xbox, Grounded. So that one's coming.
Oh, I thought you were going to say High on Life too. I was waiting for that.
No, not my
that
favorite
one was
game,
a surprise because High on Life is just kind of middle of the road to me.
Wow.
So I was surprised to see a second High on Life game?
I'm surprised how quickly. I feel like I just reviewed that game, but
Well, you just reviewed High on Knife, right? So maybe that's why it feels closer.
yeah. But even then, like that review wasn't ancient history. Like how long could it have been? 2 years ago? It's pretty fast.
Probably 2 years, I would guess.
Yeah. I like the show a lot. Grounded 2. I mean, immediately, and the fact that it's coming so quick. I know it's not the finished version, but
It's like next month, right?
yeah, it's like next month. It's already on my review list. Like I've got to review that next
Well,
month.
the question is how lame will that be, right? Because we talked about the fact that Grounded was not great in early
Correct.
preview, and this is the early preview launch for Grounded 2.
I'm not expecting it to be. I mean, I didn't like Grounded basically up until it was in its 1.0 state. So we'll see how that goes with the sequel. But that was just a huge surprise. Outer Worlds 2 looks fantastic. I watched the whole like extended thing. Looks really good. Clockwork Revolution is so ambitious.
That was my game of show.
I'm scared if it could actually do all. It almost seems kind of too good to be true and really ambitious. Meat Boy 3D looked great. I love the Meat Boy games. Got a new Plague Tale that looks weird. Looks like they're doing some interesting new stuff there. So I liked a lot of the stuff that they announced, and it's
the Plague Tale trailer was interesting because my reaction to that was I definitely didn't get far enough in the Plague Tale games because I have no idea why the Minotaur is here.
Yeah, that's yeah. Did you beat
Those
either
are
of
great
them?
games, man. Yeah, that's
no, I got bored in the middle of one, and then I was trying to beat one before I played 2, so I have them sitting in my library.
Wow,
but I've never been able to get through the middle of 1.
2 specifically is really good. And
I
then
think
Keeper,
2 is phenomenal.
the Double
really
Fine
do.
game. I have no idea what Double Fine's up to, but their games are always really unique and weird. So interested in that one.
When the Double Fine logo came up, I like screamed. I'm a huge Double Fine stan, so it looks weird, like you said, but it looks cool.
Yeah.
They
always do weird, cool stuff. So
yeah, I think we've talked before. I think Xbox is a showcase, right? What we think of with Summer Showcase, I think has crushed it the past few years. They've been the premier showcase. I think this year was maybe a step down from last year, but that's not really a negative because last year's showcase was probably one of like the best summer showcases ever.
I think that's the right take, right? I think this is worse than last year's, but last year's was crazy. But in this particular window, like I preferred the state of play to the Xbox showcase.
Whoa.
Yeah, no, 100%. Really? This is easy for me. I vastly preferred the state of play.
I was waiting for your crazy take this week, Hogan. We now have it. Thank you, sir.
Okay. I think for what I like, right? I like unusual games. PlayStation obviously always kind of leans in on Japanese games, as you would expect. And they have a lot of crazy Japanese stuff in the state of play this year that I'm interested in, that I will play, that I'm excited about, and not so much for the Xbox showcase. So that's what I like.
One funny thing that happened. So Friday night, I had dinner with Jason Ronald. So Jason Ronald's the head of like hardware engineering. He plays a lot of roles, right, on the Xbox side. But I had dinner with him, and he was asking. He's really good, obviously, at his position of not saying anything Xbox is doing. Right, he has to. And so he just asked Ben and I what we were really looking forward to in the showcase, and I said Clockwork Revolution. I said. Rumors it's going to be there. It's my most anticipated game out of Xbox first party right now. I hope it's there. I hope it's good. Obviously, he didn't say anything or hint anyway. But, we got the 5-minute trailer for that. I thought the trailer was phenomenal. That was my game of show outside of RE9 being, the preview. And he was in the room with us. So after the showcase, I walked up to him. I was like in exile. He goes, I couldn't say anything on Friday, but he goes, I knew you were going to be happy. And I said, yeah, man. Looks fantastic. So I actually talked to one of the guys at In Exile, and they said they didn't know if they wanted to do a 5-minute trailer in the middle of the showcase just for Clockwork. He said they debated
it.
About
was long.
It was, and they said, but they think it worked out. And I said, for me, it worked out. I don't know about anyone else, but I loved it. So
the other thing about the Xbox show is that it was the right length. I feel like a lot of these shows were way too long. And yeah, like especially SGF. Like how long was that show?
It was 2 hours plus the whatever he does before, right? So like 220 probably.
Jesus, man. It was so long. D fell asleep. That one
SGF was too long. What's interesting about that is that Day of the Devs is right after it. Day of the Devs was my favorite show of the weekend.
Nice.
And Day of the Devs was right after it. And when you think, okay, I'm dead. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm sick of even thinking about video games after SGF. But Day of the Devs comes on. Tim Schafer gives his intro. You start going into games, and I'm immediately, once again, enthused by the industry. So, like, it was a difference in the shows and what they were announcing more than it was just being over the entire concept of video games, which is nice. But yeah, by the time Resident Evil 9 trailer finishes, like, I feel like I have been in a marathon for the Summer Game Fest.
Yeah, so we were sitting there and we had to shuffle out with all those hundreds or thousands of people and then get on a bus and sit on a bus driving through downtown LA for an hour, which was stupid. I'm not doing that again. But that's neither here nor there. Meat Boy 3D, I'm glad I put that on here. Travis, you mentioned it. I'm pumped about
cool.
that, dude.
So cool.
Meat Boy games are cool. This looks fantastic and it looks challenging, which of course I love. So, I'm all.
Why are there so many Meat Boys jumping around? What's going on with all the meats?
They're just adding a Bang on Balls story for Ains.
Ooh,
it's just gonna be Meat Boy running around.
Perfect mashup we didn't know we needed. There it is.
Yeah, so I also like that they haven't rested on the laurels of that franchise, where like every game is like a different genre of platformer. It's really interesting. So yeah,
it looks great. I was surprised to see that, but I was excited. Couple new announcements. I want to new IPs. I want to call out. Excuse me. Beast of Reincarnation was a surprise, and this is being made by Game Freak.
Yep.
Of all
saw that Game Freak logo. Had to tell my daughter, it's like, that's the Pokemon people.
Yeah, which very cool, right? I know
it'd be optimized terribly.
It looked like it from the trailer, but it's well out.
It's Game Freak,
probably. But I mean, Xbox they've been vocal about the Japanese and kind of Asian support, right? So it was pretty clear in the show. I think they were trying to stress that. We saw Mudong as well, which looked really, really cool. That was
I have
the
no
one
recollection of Mudong.
It looks like Splinter Cell meets Resident Evil, or I don't know the best reference point here, but it looked unique. It looked really cool. Obviously we got the Final Fantasy announcements, which it's been overdue, but pretty cool for 16 to launch that day and remake to come later. So let me ask you, one of their biggest announcements, of course, was the Asus ROG partnership with the Xbox handheld, which had been kind of leaked ahead of time, but we get ROG Ally and ROG Ally X in Xbox form, if you will. And I actually talked to Jason about this after the show a little bit, so I can provide some additional context if needed. But what he told me is essentially there's two main points, right? One, that it feels like you're holding an Xbox controller. And so he stressed, like, when you're holding it, from the grips to the thumbsticks to the triggers and their impulse triggers as well, like, it just feels very good to play and hold, and it feels almost natively Xbox. The other thing, of course, which was the main thing for their show, which Sarah Bond talked about, is you can see the shift from where they're going from just Game Pass to Play Anywhere. And the reason they're doing that, of course, right, is that your entire digital library, not just Game Pass games, or not just first party, but if you understood what they were saying, is that every game at that show will be Play Anywhere, meaning your digital library can be played in the Xbox ecosystem, which means PC, console, and now portable, right? And that gives them, that is their standalone thing in the industry now, right? Because no one else is really offering that.
And this is one of those areas where I think things get confusing, right? And I complained when Switch had their big direct and they weren't really establishing what the difference between kind of a Switch 2 edition and a free patch was going to be. This is one of those areas where Xbox has not used Play Anywhere support for all of their titles. So Correct. I don't know whether it's going to be as smooth as they are kind of claiming it to be, because I don't even know what my Play Anywhere library looks like against my normal Xbox library. Yep. So that they have to make that sales pitch to be stronger, because otherwise I'm not excited about the Rogue Ally. I'm not excited about the Xbox Rogue Ally. I can barely tell the difference between the marketing brands for them. So
the Rogue Ally is a cool device, but its problem is that it runs Windows, like desktop version, and that is an insane way to have a handheld console. Like, it's like you're clicking on the tiny little Windows start button and then getting a list of apps, and you're like squinting, and it's insane. So just from a UI perspective, this is a big step up. But
that's why sorry to interrupt you, Travis, but that's why you started seeing the logo that says Xbox PC.
Yeah.
because it is their new OS for this.
Love that. I love that it's a dedicated OS for the platform I'm playing on. Guys, if you make a specific device, you should have an OS made for that device. You shouldn't just take an OS from elsewhere and throw it on there. That's a crazy thing to do. So I like that. But my biggest problem with the Steam Deck, the reason I never touch either of the Steam Decks I own, is because most of the games I want to play, I can't play there. And it's very unclear what the rules are for which games get added to that and which don't, and which are supported and which aren't. And that's the danger with this being third party and with the rules not being clearly defined. If it was like, look, any game you own on Xbox, you can play here. We're designing it that way. I would instantly be on team. This is the best handheld. Let's go. But I do not feel, I felt like the way they were talking around it was like, well, it has to be play anywhere game. And I was like, oh God, I don't like the implications of what that means for how much of my library will be accessible. I have no problems with it from a device perspective. I don't mind the price because I know that they're aiming for the 1% of people that care enough to have this sort of device. Like whatever, it's going to be fine. I'll buy it at that price. But yeah, I just am concerned that a lot of people are not reading the fine print and assuming that their whole library is going to be there, and that is not the messaging I heard.
Yeah, no, I agree that there was some distinction there that even I didn't understand because I didn't care to right now before there's a purchasing opportunity in front of me.
So I can help. All the Xbox first party stuff going forward, right, from this moment basically will be play anywhere. So all first party. So you can put that over here. Obviously, they can't control third party. So third party is going to be, if they decide to do it, what they were specifically calling out for the showcase is what you're seeing here today. So these games we're talking about will be, right? So to both your points, when you're playing on the Xbox PC OS, you're playing on your ROG Ally, whatever, right? Cloud. You will have your digital library going forward. Like they have to make that shift, right? So all your future games will be there from first party and then some of your third party. Yes. The other thing that they called out is, damn it, lost my train of thought. There was one other point they were making about it, which I thought was really cool. What is really crazy to me, to show you how dedicated they are to this being their future, which saddens me, but will make Travis laugh, right? So a lot of these games from their first party, right, are going to PlayStation 5, right, as we've seen, and more of that's going to happen in the future. So like Ninja Gaiden 4, some of these other ones that are coming that they're partnering on, you can buy later this year. You can buy them physical, buy them at a store on PS5. Xbox is not making them physical. So literally Xbox first party games are going to be digital only, whereas you can buy them on a disc for PS5. And of course, while that saddens me, the reason they're doing that is for what we just talked about. It's because when you push everyone into that digital ecosystem, it will live wherever you play. And that is their long-term goal.
Yep.
They want to be Steam for console land.
Makes sense.
They want to be Steam, but with a better OS for console and kind of native gameplay.
I mean, it makes sense, right? There's a reason you never see physical games for PC, right? People don't even have disk drives anymore. And I think it is a very weird backwards facing thing that game consoles are basically the only platform where like there's still a pretty big cadre of people who like to have the disc. Like music has gone all digital. There's some people who have like vinyl. That's sort of a different market though, right? Movies, you stream them or you buy them digitally. PC, nobody even has disc
I buy
drives
4K
anymore.
Movies.
Yeah, I mean you go more power to you, man. I mean
quality's better. I mean you can't.
You're an elderly man.
Quality's better.
Okay, and
I mean it's a fact. It is.
Okay, and yeah, games are okay. Games are okay. Games are.
I can't with you two.
I think Ains might. I don't know. There's something. He's a little.
The point I'm making, Travis, I'm actually agreeing with you. Is like records have a specific sound. They have a specific market, right? Sure. 4K Blu-ray discs are better quality. They really are. But in a video game form,
with both of you on this.
Oh, you didn't let me finish though.
Okay.
Neither of you let me finish, but go ahead.
In video game form, it doesn't matter if you're playing on disc or digital. The experience of playing the game is the game itself. I mean, not taking it around with you, but the game itself is the same. Yeah, so there's no there to your credit, Travis. I'm saying there's no benefit to having it physical in that sense, right? That's what I was saying. Sorry.
And all I was going to side with you both on is audio-visual stuff, because yes, Ains is absolutely correct as of right now in 2025. But Travis is almost certainly correct long-term, as you get better algorithms to better send those data bits down the streaming pipeline, that it's going to be a roughly equivalent quality in the future. So when we talk about digital libraries, we're talking about future-proofing to some extent. We're talking about making sure that that transition is smoother than something like Switch 2, where yes, everything has better load times, but you can still see the crappy resolutions that some of the games had to settle for to get them working at all on the toaster that was the Switch 1. I love my Switch 1. I love that ecosystem, but it was a toaster.
I think a toaster's being generous, but yeah. Go on, Travis.
Nope, that's it. Let's move on.
This is like my daughter. You cut me off too many times.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, it's weird though, right? Like I like what Xbox is doing in the sense of, and I've said this many times on the show, but if you look at PlayStation, you buy a game on PlayStation, it comes out a year or two later on PC, and you have to buy it again, and then they're going to remaster it, and you'll buy it 7 more times. Nintendo, forget about it, right? They're on their own. They're on doing their own thing on their own console. You're not getting it anywhere else. I mean, the sheer fact that whether you're on Game Pass or buying your game digitally, that you're going to be able to play that game on your Series XS, on your PC, on portable, on cloud, and it's all cross-play, cross-progression is fantastic. And I will continue to preach about the benefits of that, because I don't think they get enough credit for it. But
you've got to hand it to Microsoft. They always do things way too early, but they're always right eventually. Like they're like, hey, we want to do this thing. And they introduce it and the market rejects it soundly. They're like, we don't like that. We think your idea is dumb. And then like 6 years later, it happens anyway. And they're like, God damn it. We told
every
you.
Time.
We tried to get you to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, their library stuff, the stuff they tried to introduce in the original Xbox One era wasn't just early. It was wrong. We're not adopting most of those trading and library license concepts.
Well, they're not adopting it. I mean, they okay. So let's look at the Nintendo Switch virtual game carts. They're basically doing exactly the thing that Xbox talked about.
And they're bad. The Nintendo virtual game cards are bad.
It doesn't. Yeah, but it's happening. So what you said is wrong, right? Like they're doing that effectively. And I think that a world where maybe somebody who is better at software did that idea, it probably would be hugely popular.
The Switch 2 is literally an Xbox One. They're like, here's digital game disc, here's a camera. You can play game chat if you're part of the Xbox Online. It's
what about all of the always online stuff? Like they were like always online. It's kind of got to happen anyway. And then people are like, no, that's stupid. And then it happened anyway. Like there's just all of this stuff is just anyway. But Microsoft's their curse is that they're always trying to lead the industry, like, hey, we're gonna do this thing, and the industry's always like, no, we don't trust you with that, you suck. And fair enough, right? It's Microsoft. And so but you gotta love that about them. It's like they're another finger curls on the monkey paw for Microsoft. It's insane.
we were talking about this on our Discord yesterday of like, I don't know what it is, right? Like I love all these platforms. We talk about this all the time here, right? We all play on everything here. But there is a subsection of the community. You can feel it, you can read it, you can hear it, anything, where it's just like, oh, that's Xbox, I don't want to be bothered with it. And it's like, what is that? I don't know what that is. Like I know people who literally have Game Pass, but they still buy every game on PS5 that you can play on Game Pass. And I'm like, why are you doing that? You're literally throwing hundreds or thousands of dollars away for no reason. You're buying this game digitally anyway. I don't get it.
Choose, but I've talked in this space about how much I prefer the PlayStation controller, and so that's an impact for me. On the Switch now, it's an entirely different function because it is portable, and so I do like having the ability to take Cyberpunk with me or to play Kunitsugami wherever I feel like.
That's fair.
Like that's cool. And so that's why I get those games again on that platform. But yes, I think for everybody that says, I'm not going to deal with Microsoft, I'm not going to deal with Xbox, there's somebody saying, well, Sony is ass or Nintendo's lawyers are hunting down everybody in the streets, so I'm not going to deal with them.
Also true.
Like there are these little contingent groups that hate everything else. I tend to like everything.
I hate everything.
I like to have access to everything, which is why you heard me earlier say that the State of Play was my favorite, because they had games that I was more interested in. Like every single trailer was like, oh yeah,
How dare you?
I'll play that. I'm interested in
Yeah.
that. And that was not the same, certainly with Summer Game Fest. And it was not the same with Xbox either.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about this before, but I hate all of the platforms. They're all really bad. We deserve better as gamers.
I figure you hate
And-
video games at this point, Travis. No,
No, I love the games. I just
isn't
hate
that what the commenters say?
Yeah, the commenters think I hate games. I love games. I hate all of the platforms I'm forced to play them on. That really bothers me. But look, Xbox is going to receive a ton of criticism for abandoning physical games altogether. And then
As
guess
they
what?
should.
And then guess what? 99% of people are only going to buy digital games, and the physical market's going to disappear anyway. So maybe they were too early. I certainly don't think so. I think this is kind of overdue, but I'm for it. Digital's the future, and you get a lot of benefits buying digital, including the Play Anywhere thing, and you have for years. You get two copies of the game for
benefits
one.
for buying digital. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the reason, again, when you talk about Microsoft was not offering 2 copies of the game for one in their library setups. The reason you get it was the sweetener to even have the digital library licenses work the way they do. So maybe early, maybe with the wrong offer from Microsoft.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've always had a messaging problem. They've always had a, getting people to understand what they're doing problem. So
Speaking of the messaging problem, I feel like I thought Play Anywhere was dead because I remember them pushing it. Like, you know how Xbox has like a new phrase that they keep saying every couple years where it's like, oh, it's Play Anywhere, it's Game Pass first or whatever. They like come up with like these terms, and I felt like Play Anywhere kind of died, and now they're like resurrecting it. And I'm like, is it the same thing as you did before, or is
it
this
is
like
the
a
same
whole
thing.
new
It's just being used more broadly.
Yeah, it's like
think-
it's kind of a different term where they were pitching it like it was a new thing, and I was like, but I kind of remember that before, and I thought you stopped doing that. I don't know.
It's
like
your
a very
exact
new
point.
messaging. Yeah,
They were well ahead of the game with Play Anywhere because no one else was doing it really. And I mean, they're still not, but here you are. I mean, Steam kind of is because you have Steam Deck now if you buy their own device, right? But it's still a little bit different in that sense because technically you don't need an Xbox. It's the whole this is an Xbox. You don't need an Xbox device to play Xbox games, right?
Right.
yeah.
And it's going to be just a gaming brand. They want to be the Kleenex of tissues for video games. It's just Xboxing, like people used to talk about Nintendo in the 80s. But
yeah, that's true.
Maybe they'll get there. Maybe they won't. I do think they deserve credit for their software ecosystem. I note it every time I switch Xboxes or when I get a new one or I have to swap everything over, that everything is immediately there, much easier than the other platforms. Even when I got my Switch 2 and I brought it home, just that process of bringing everything over and getting it set up was
annoying.
not as clean as it should have been.
Put your Switch next to your other Switch and let them talk to each other. It's like, what
I joke because I couldn't get it to work, and I laid the Switch 2 on top of the Switch 1. I said, my daughter, you think that's close enough? You think it'll work this time? It did not.
Yeah. It's so funny, the worlds of like, there's groups that are bad at it because you can tell they're just genuinely bad at it. Nintendo's one of those. And then there's teams that are bad at it because they're trying to be so fancy that they're accidentally bad at it. They're like so good at it that they're bad at it. Like the iPhone, like the iPhone has this thing where it's like, oh, you're setting up an Apple Watch, like put your watch down on the ground, and then it gives you like a swirling orb of like little like things, and then you have to like put your camera and like focus on the orb, and you're like, what am I doing? Like, I know you guys are good at data transfer. Why am you making me do a magic spell to get my data onto my Apple Watch?
It's the truth, though. Like, that's the coolest thing about the Microsoft ecosystem is that it feels very wall-free, very, very frictionless.
Exactly.
To move between consoles and other things that you want to use your Xbox games for. It's just not as good of a gaming ecosystem as Nintendo or Sony for the most part. So it's not.
I'd have to challenge you on that. What do you mean by that? The games
content,
themselves?
the games within the world.
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe. I mean, that's obviously personal preference, but yeah.
Well, I mean, you self-selected to have us talk about the Xbox showcase and not the State of Play. So here I am.
No, I just mean in general. And shout out the name cracks me up. God Emperor Sofa King. So pointing out like Metaphor, for example, Expedition 33, they were in Game Pass. They're also Play Anywhere, right? So like I can play that on my Xbox, come over, play on my PC if I go through the Xbox app, and everything's there.
I noticed that logo pretty big on the Rogue Ally Xbox edition.
Well, yeah, that's the whole point, right?
I know. It was just funny. The expedition was so big. It was like, oh.
Yeah.
We're like, hey, that's on Game Pass, by the way. Come play it on our platform.
I just did it with Finals. Funny enough, so true story. Finals this season has a Game Pass perk where you get bonus XP and some other stuff. So if you play the game on PC through Steam, you can look and the bonus XP is not working. But if I play it through Xbox PC app, I get the bonus.
Oh dear
So
God,
I literally
don't do that,
uninstalled it.
gamers.
I literally uninstalled it on Steam, and now I'm playing on the Xbox PC app.
No, that's good for you, Ains. Just don't build that into your programming, for God's sakes. Platform agnostic. My God, that's the devil's path right there.
Well, obviously Xbox, it's a Game Pass perk, so obviously they partnered, right? They spent money to.
I get it.
On there. Yeah, I mean,
did you guys like the Ben Schwartz skits on the Xbox show, Outer Worlds?
I didn't like anything about the Outer Worlds 2 reveal.
Whoa.
Yes. No, it's fine. It's another professional comedian that Hogue knows more about comedy than.
Damn it. I wanted to talk about Outer Worlds too. We didn't get there yet because we've talked a lot about Outer Worlds. Hogue doesn't like the humor in Outer Worlds. Outer Worlds 2 is obviously going for a much grander experience. I haven't even had time because during the show I was running around, so I missed some of the showcase when it was live. So big reveal for Outer Worlds 2. Obviously the scope's grander. What are your thoughts? Hogue, I'll start with you because
sure.
You didn't like Outer Worlds 1 as much as Travis and I did and didn't like the humor. Is the bigger scope, the bigger game enticing you?
Yeah, my thought is it couldn't be less grand than the Outer Worlds, so it's good to be more grand. But no, Obsidian has left me. I am no longer a fan of the current Obsidian output. So we'll just see what happens with Outer Worlds 2, but I'm not excited about that one.
Wow.
And I have a sense of humor. So I enjoyed Outer Worlds quite a bit, and I think the sequel looks great. Again, I'm not like a Obsidian simp or anything. I like some of the stuff they've done, but I gave about a 7 and was kind of disappointed with what that was based on what I was hoping it would be. And Outer Worlds 2 has promise, but I also, the Outer Worlds 1 was not like the best RPG of that, that era. So hopefully they can get back to punching above their weight. As they said many times, they are great at sequels. They did Grounded. I think Grounded 2 is going to be good. I think Outer Worlds 2 is going to be good. I'm excited for their sequels. I hope they turn out as well as they are. But yeah, the writing I think is going to be there.
I'm just excited that the game areas look much larger. The gunplay, from what someone did they say it during the show? Or did someone tell me this, that they actually had Halo Studios come in to Obsidian and help them with the gunplay?
That was not during the show, but you can tell they improved the gunplay a ton.
Oh, okay. Well, that happened. Someone told me over the weekend while I was at the thing. So I think the gunplay will be better. It looks like the one thing I heard, which I think John Clark, shout out to our friends over at Xbox Era, told me, is because they got to interview the creative director. And if I'm recalling correctly, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, you will not be able to respec in Outer Worlds 2. And the reason they're doing that is because they know they're going to get criticism from some people about that, but is that they want people to experience the weight of their decisions and how impactful those things can be through the game.
I dig it.
I think, yeah. So
it's also funny, just all the different.
Sam, I'm sorry. Sorry, Travis. Sam is in our chat. Shout out to Sam over at Windows Central. We were hanging out the whole weekend. That was Ains. It's in his preview. That was Ains. That was Sam. It's in his preview. Damn, I'm still tired. I know. I'm Ains. I got it. I got it now.
You got it figured out.
Sam, sorry, my friend. God, I'm tired, man.
Me too.
Yeah, but no, I thought that looked good. I want to sit down and watch the full 20-minute plus, direct on it. Since getting home, I just haven't yet. So.
Well, as long as we're on this show, what do you feel about Call of Duty being the one more thing?
I was going to bring that up, and I think that was a big mistake.
Yeah.
I got really excited. I was like, oh, new IP. And then I was like, Call of Duty, you betrayed me.
It's funny because I was not actually tricked by that. Once you have a recognizable actor in that environment, I thought, okay, this must be Call of Duty. And then you go in your head, you're like, did they talk about Call of Duty this show? No. That's got to be Call of Duty.
I forgot what show I was watching for a second. I was just like, oh, more games. And then I was like, oh, this actor, that's weird. And then Dee got excited. She was like, this looks really cool. That robot's hot. And I was like, cool.
Your wife's
And then,
interesting.
my wife is interesting. I mean, yeah, I don't know. We could talk about that. A whole
I don't recall thinking the robot was hot. So
she immediately was like, look at the way its hips are moving. I was like, Jesus, D, put it away. And then but yeah, we got to the reveal and she felt such betrayal. She was like, Call of Duty? God damn it. She was not happy.
I'm telling you, everyone in the watch party. So if you know Hip Hop Gamer, I don't know who knows him. He's a very vocal, animated person in person, right? He's very loud. He's very he's got more energy in person than anyone I've ever met in my life. He's sitting right behind me. And so we're watching this reveal, right? And you don't know what it is. And he's got his hand on my shoulder and he's like yelling and screaming, and people are getting really excited. And then it shows the Black Ops logo and like the room, it didn't go flat, but it just kind of like nothing happened. You know what I mean? Like no one really cheered. It was just like, oh, okay, Call of Duty. And I know for me, I was pretty deflated because it looked really cool. And then I saw Black Ops 7. I'm like, oh, come on, man. That you're wasting my time.
I mean, maybe it's good. Maybe we're all just being so jaded because it's Call of Duty. But like, I don't know.
No, it just can't be your one more thing because Call of Duty in the fall is a freaking national holiday. It's already slated.
Yeah. Oh, you should open with Call of Duty. I think Xbox has done that in the past. And yeah, it's a weird one more thing.
Well, and the thing about Call of Duty, and not to detract from it, right? There's obviously a gigantic audience for Call of Duty,
absolutely,
who love it. But when you think about I think about games like that evolving, and Call of Duty, especially for me, like a multiplayer perspective, it can only evolve so much because it has to still feel and play like Call of Duty, which is what people expect every year now. And so, no matter how demonstrative they are of these changes they do every year. They do these big showcases of like, look at this movement and look at this gun physics and look at these things and these things and things. And then you play it and you're like, oh, it's Call of Duty, and that happened. I've been catfished too many times with Call of Duty. I'm like, I'm over it at this point. It's just like, I'm just like, good. I'm good.
For some reason, I imagine like Ains sitting alone at a restaurant waiting for somebody to show up, and he's like, "No, it's Call of Duty again."
It's Call of Duty. They walk in, and I just walk out.
Yeah, it's Call of Duty.
I blame all of you for not buying Infinite Warfare because that was cool and different, and nobody bought it, and now we're stuck with this.
That was the space one, right?
That was the space one. Yes.
Very underrated campaign too.
I love Infinite Warfare.
It was pretty good. Pretty good.
So I don't know. Maybe they'll pull something out like that again.
But respects for nobody playing. That's a different one.
And I don't like you would think if it's going to be a little more original too, it wouldn't be Black Ops 7. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
come on, man.
I'm a Final Fantasy fan, so I can't agree to this. But yeah,
but those are different.
Are they?
You know what I mean?
They're different universes.
I feel like they're at this point the Black Ops brand is like more valuable than the Call of Duty brand even, and so they feel like they have to put it on even if they wanted to tell the separate
Black
stories. They have to put Black Ops in it, and so it's sort of like Final Fantasy, right? Like these aren't same stories. A lot of them are very, very different from each other.
The same characters. That was freaking Mason's son in that trailer, wasn't it?
You obviously know it better than me.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like,
no, somebody in the chat's gonna be like Rick's a moron, and that's somebody else's son or something.
I don't know enough about the Call of Duty lore, but I was immediately just like, okay, it's the 7th game, it's Black Ops, it's probably gonna be exactly what I think it's gonna be. So
Sofa King says yes, it is.
Okay,
so
cool.
All right, I cannot pretend to have memorized all the plot lines of the Black Opses, which are deliberately designed to be confusing.
They should have called
recognize family names.
They should have called it Black Ops: The Next Generation.
I think that started in like 3.
Well, they should at least do something. Like, you're not just going to keep with numbers forever. Like, what are you going to do? Black Ops 13? Like, come on, man.
Mario Party would like a word with you.
I want them to commit to
Nintendo plays its own set of rules. Yeah.
Final Fantasy? What are they on? 17 now?
And Mario Party is interesting because like they've totally confused certainly me and my daughters with like, what is the most recent Mario Party? Right, it's Jamboree, but because of the naming conventions for the last 3 or 4, they all sound like party words. They're just
because the Switch one was just Mario Party.
Jamboree is a cartoon word. That doesn't count. Cartoons use that word.
I don't know what that means, but I feel slighted.
You know, jumbo. Jumbo is a cartoon word.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, people are saying they had to show. I agree. They had to show Call of Duty. They got to give it its time. But like the way they set it up, I thought was disappointing because I think you had that one more moment, to Hoag's point, of really pulling in people for something big and new, and instead it was Call of Duty, which is expected. That's the only thing.
No, it almost feels like that's where the Clockwork trailer belonged, but it was weird.
Talking about
something else, they're working. Yeah, something
talking
new.
about games with too many sequels, Ains, I found out. Here's a quick life hack for all you developers out there, because I know you're wondering, what does Travis think? If you get above a certain number in your sequels and it's starting to feel ridiculous, you can instantly make it not ridiculous by switching to Roman numerals. People, for some reason, react a lot better to that.
Oftentimes they do. It's interesting that Final Fantasy bounces between the numeral sets.
Yeah, that is a bad move. You should just stick with Roman numerals, because when you get to, Call of Duty 15, if it's 15 with Roman numerals, people won't think that's weird. But if it says 15 in Arabic numerals, they'll be like, that's too many games.
Yeah, but the problem is like so many people can't read the teens. Right?
That's fine. Then they'll just think it's the same game. It's the ultimate life hack. They'll be like, I don't know what those Roman numerals mean, but it's Call of Duty.
Can you imagine it if at the end of that trailer said Call of Duty Black Ops and then V11? People would be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, but when they get to 12, it'll be normal. That's my point. When they get to 12, if it's X11, they'll be like, oh, that's kind of cool.
You start with 10 because everybody thinks it's X anyway.
Just saying.
I'm not putting it past them. They will do that because
it's
X sounds Call of Duty.
No, 10 is the perfect time to transition to Roman numerals, because you can put the X in there. It sounds cool, and then you got X1, and
so
you're
7,
good.
8,
yeah.
I'm still not convinced that Metal Gear Solid 5 isn't really Metal Gear Solid V.
Five is also a good time to switch to Roman numerals. I think a little too early, but yeah, it's a good choice.
I'm just saying, Hideo Kojima does that kind of crap. I don't know if you saw the Death Stranding 2 watch thing,
on the beach?
but
no.
He's fully on his Hideo Kojima kick.
Ains, are you still balking at the title? Because I am. It's called On the Beach.
That game is going to be freaking
amazing. It's so stupid. It's so dumb.
Oh, God. When you said it, it just made me burst out laughing.
At least admit the title is dumb, Hoag. I know you love the game. Admit it's a dumb title.
The entirety of the title is dumb. Death Stranding on the beach. Every word dumber than the last.
Every word is more stupid.
But no, Alex went to he had a separate watch party in LA because Kojima for his game, and he went to it. He said it was awesome to see it on the big screen. Alex is a Kojima and Death Stranding stan, he loved it. I think everyone I've seen has responded very positively to Death Stranding.
He showed too much. I had to look away during some of this stuff. I'm like, don't stop showing stuff, Hideo.
Yeah, I don't like that. If I was interested in the game, I wouldn't have watched it anyway. You know what I mean? I like going in dark to those things. So
yeah, no.
But I hope it's great.
After that, and having to basically hide my eyes for 40 minutes of it, I'm not watching his last trailer. The game comes out imminently. I'm super excited about it. Death Stranding 2, I am pumped.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's in a week and a half? It's very, very soon.
It's very soon.
Yeah. Well, good shows, boys. What other games didn't we talk about that jumped out? Anything from different showcase? You want to flip through your notes there, Hoag, your papers?
I can. Yeah, there's a couple things I'd like to mention if we have time. One, of course, is the Arc System Works combo with PlayStation Studios doing the Marvel fighting game. Whose name I can never quite remember.
Tokon,
yes, and then Fighting Souls.
Fighting Souls.
Yeah.
It's Tokon fighting on the beach.
That would be great. I think it looked incredible. I think Arc System Works makes really fantastic looking fighting games. I'm not good enough at them, but I think it looks great. I think it even looks better than Street Fighter 6, for instance. And I hope it's fantastic.
Arc System Works is incredible. They will crush it.
I wanted to call that one out. I wanted to call out a game that I don't hear discussed very much, but of course I have to call out because it features pirates from an indie company doing weird things. So this is a Hogue special. If you didn't see it in the State of Play, Sea of Remnants is now a game that has a highlighted and bold-faced notation in my games to look forward to list. And I really wanted to call that one out because it looks crazy. I don't even know what kind of game it is at this point. It might be a turn-based RPG. It's unclear from the trailer, but it's got a unique visual style. And most importantly, it's got pirates. So, Sea of Remnants. Please do hold that one in the back of your head. Sword of the Sea was announced during the State of Play, which is the new game from the Journey guy.
That was playable at the event. I didn't get to play it, but it was there.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. So if you've ever thought about surfing on a sword hovering in midair and didn't get your fill from Metaphor doing that, then Sword of the Sea looks interesting. What else do I got here? Romeo is a Dead Man. The kind of No More Heroes vibe from Grasshopper also announced. Again, weird stuff that I'm interested in, and maybe nobody else. I don't know. The one that my daughter was most interested in from this show was a game called Tides of Tomorrow, which is some kind of cooperative multiplayer, I don't know, environmental survival game. But that one looked interesting.
Oh, Romeo's a Dead Man. Sorry to back up. That's the one from Suda, right?
Yes, Grasshopper is his company.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
Suda.
51.
51.
Sudafed. Tokon some Sudafed. Well, we've got all these weird names.
We're at that point of the show, Ho. Carry on.
This is
you're breaking me. Coming together. 2.5 hours.
Yes. No. So again, I'm trying to be brief about these things, but this is the reason the State of Play worked so much better for me. You also saw Pragmata during that and Luminous during that show. And I think, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that show had the first clips of Bond, which I'm not sure.
It did have the debut of Bond, yes.
I'm not sure how I feel about that one. It looks a little bit too much like Bond is dropped into a Hitman world, but we'll see.
But
I know that's what IO does, but I had hoped to maybe see something that differentiated the Bond franchise a little bit more from their famous Hitman franchise. So maybe that's just coming through right now in the trailer, and it'll be better when it gets done. But I'm not excited about that one yet.
Dating sim mechanics. It's a Bond game. You got it. You got to flirt.
Bond doesn't date. Cool. Bond does flirt.
He does. I mean, he dates. He dates.
Those are not dates that James Bond goes on.
Hogue, we have very different definitions of dates, and I think yours is a little old school. All right, because dates today, we're a little bit more like James Bond. We're like whatever.
I'll take your word for it, Travis.
No, I'm saying when I go on dates, we're getting down to business.
I think the last time I dated might have been before the millennial shift. So,
Bond, I was hoping to be able to speak more to. I went to the IOI showcase and they didn't show anything or say anything new. So I can't offer any other insight than what we saw. I think it looks good, but
it looks
curious to see more. Yeah,
it does look good. And I hope that it's not just a Hitman with a Bond skin, but I have concerns from that trailer so far, and we'll see.
Yeah. Shout out to Invincible too.
Again. Thank you.
Invincible versus. So between Tokon and Invincible, looks like that there was a huge reaction to Invincible, at least in the watch party I was at.
Oh yeah,
the fighting game scene. Yeah. So that's got a big. I'm not part of that audience, but I know it has a big audience. I'm pretty sure COG got an interview with the Invincible director, so I'm sure they have that up over at Iron Lord, so you can check that out. But yeah, people were pumped about that one.
One other thing that got shadow dropped at the show of SGF was the Lies of P expansion Overture.
Yes, Overture.
Which I want to talk about because I played that game before the show. I beat the DLC.
I'm told it's much harder now.
That is what people said, was not my experience. My experience was...
It never is.
Well, no, here's the thing. I actually think Lies of P, when I played the base game, was one of the harder Souls-likes I played. It really challenged me at certain points. And so I was like kind of afraid that I was going to get into Lies of P and be like, oh God, like I'm completely out of practice. That was true for like the first 2 hours. And then I remembered how to parry well in that game. The parry timing is very weird in Lies of P. It's different than any other timing in other Souls-likes. But as soon as I remembered how to do it, it was like riding a bike. And I got through the DLC in like 12 hours. Had a really good time with it. You can read my full review on IGN.com. I gave it an 8, which is the same score I gave the game. It's just more Lies of P, and that's a very good thing, but it does not do anything fancy or new or different. And it's sort of, It's sort of reminds me of like they're definitely following the same formula as the Elden Ring DLC, right? Where it's a large expansion that adds multiple areas and significantly adds onto the story and adds a bunch of new characters and stuff like that. So if you liked Liza P and you're looking for more of that, I give it my recommendation. And it was cool to see that thing shadow drop at the show.
12 hours sounds pretty meaty. And they did add difficulty settings too.
Keep in mind, it was 12 hours for me. I'm hearing that most people are experiencing longer times than that. So it might take longer. And also a lot of people, by the time this is coming out, are on like New Game Plus and that sort of thing. I was not, because I reviewed it on PlayStation, I think originally the first time around, maybe Xbox, and then this review was on PC, so they had to give me a like pre-played save file that was up to that point in the story where you could do the expansion. Yeah. So I was playing with somebody else's build and was not on New Game Plus, so I can't really speak to the difficulty there.
I really like Liza P. I never got anywhere in it.
The story
did beat the Yeti in Berserker. Did I tell you guys
that?
Yeah,
you told us. You told us that.
Good.
We were very proud of you. And you got all the way to the end of the demo, the Phantom boss fight, which we're waiting for you to clutch that up. I am this close to being done with Kazan, by the way. I beat the boss that's right before the final boss. Keep in mind, I have no time to play this game. I play it like 1 hour a week if I'm lucky. So I have not played it basically since Dune came out. But
Dune and Switch have taken up my entire brain space.
The other thing about Liza P Overture, that it crushes is the story is so good.
Nice.
Which is a thing that is really surprising about Liza P Vanilla, is that the story is sort of awesome, and then this one I would say is even better in terms of story, which was just really cool.
It's certainly more direct than the From Software kind of version.
Oh, I mean, when it comes, like, if you're just talking narrative, Liza P destroys any Souls-like game, or any FromSoft game rather. It's like not even close.
Ains, you're the host. I was going to let you go from there, but
I've taken aback by his last statement. I didn't really know how to respond.
Come on. You and I both love FromSoft games, but story is not their strong suit. Come on.
Certainly not the way that we traditionally think of story.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, it depends what you think of story.
If I have to watch a YouTube video to learn the lore, it's not story, it's lore.
You don't. It's just...
You really do, though.
Well, I think Travis's distinction between story and lore, maybe narrative and lore, I think is valid. I think the universes in the FromSoft games are interesting to kind of piece together and to think about. They aren't narrative, forward progression stories like we expect from these things.
Yeah. I think they have great lore. I think their stories are bad. I think Liza P actually tries to tell a story rather than lore, and it does a much better job than any of the FromSoft games does at that.
Speaking of story, one of the things that is the most interesting to me about the Altars, which I talked about earlier, is how narrative focused it is while still being a survival adventure game, right? So it takes that science fiction idea and it has interstellar sequences. It has conversations that are way more narrative driven than I would have expected for that kind of game. It's very similar with Dune, honestly, which has a lot more story and lore than I would have expected. So lots of good stuff out there for getting told a lot of stories, even if you want to do it with item descriptions in a FromSoft game. However you like your story told.
And if you want, you can do it like this.
Yep. If you want to look like Travis playing Switch, the world is open to you.
Do it.
What do you think about one I forgot to mention was Aphelion? That's the new Don't Nod game that is partnering with the ESA of all things.
That's the European Space Agency, not the software.
Yeah. European Space Agency. There's an article on Xbox Wire about this because it's so unique. But I know Don't Nod is very high for some people, indifferent to other people. So I don't know.
They're mid-range. Their BC team work, I don't think always connects with me. They had that one game about climbing a mountain that I didn't love. The Banishers, I want to love more than I did. And so I think Don't Nod is one of those hit and miss companies.
I remember you saying you loved the Banishers, or that you liked it more than I did.
No, I wanted to like it more. I got stuck in the map so much, like the actual game design of Banishers struggles against what I think is pretty good storytelling.
You got there. You got to that point, yeah.
So, like, I want to like it more because I like a lot of what they're doing with the story. And I think Don't Nod swings for the fences, which I'm always for. I just don't think they always don't fly out in the deep outfield.
Yeah, I gotcha. Also played one called Toa and the Guardians of the Sacred Tree. Long title. It is from Bandai Namco. It's a roguelike. It's very clearly taking inspiration from Hades. But if you like that type of game, Alex and I played it, and it's very beautiful, played really well, and it seems really cool. So you can check that one.
What was the name of the game from Drinkbox? That looked like
Blighted.
Hades?
Blighted.
You.
So we have a preview up of that. Ray did play it, and we sat with the development team. So we have a preview on SG. You can check out for that. It is pretty early still for that one. I believe they're not releasing until next year. But
I love Drinkbox.
Yeah, us too. So it was one of the first appointments I set up for that reason. But watching it and sitting on the couch playing it, very beautiful as you would expect, very well animated, very colorful, and it's co-op, right? You can play together. So Ray was playing with the developer. It looked really, really cool. He liked it, but you can check the preview out.
I will check the preview out, Ains. That's a good sales pitch.
Blighted drink box sounds like an item in Elden Ring.
Oh, the best part here, Travis, you'll laugh at this. So tired as hell. We're trying to get content up, right? I put up the preview of Blighted, and literally in the title, which of course affects SEO too, I get an email the next day from from the studio, and it says, "Hey, thank you for the preview. Thanks for the coverage. Can you please just correct this?" I put Juicebox Studios.
Yeah. I mean, that's an easy one to do.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God. What
I
a
just
dumbass.
think Nobody Saves the World is one of the more criminally underrated games of the last
This
few
is
years.
why having an editor is amazing.
We do,
Yeah.
obviously, but not for every single thing when you're like real time trying to get shit up quickly.
Yeah, I remember those nights, late nights at E3, where you're all writing like 5 stories of the 5 games you saw that day, and you're so freaking tired, and you know you have to wake up at 6 a.m. for your next appointment tomorrow. It's brutal. I love it.
Yeah. Plenty of other things to mention. There's some VR games. One little game I'll call out real quick is called Crizzle. I think this might have been shown briefly at
You made that up.
SGF.
It's not a real game.
No, it's real.
You can't just make up words, bro.
It's Snoop Dogg's new game.
It's called Crizzle. It's from a small studio in Spain, and it was one of those ones that had one setup to play, and the people who played it really, really enjoyed it. It looks like a BioShock / kind of Heretic mix, if you will. But people really enjoy it. Like, you shoot people with blood out of your gun, and you have to stay alive, you basically have to keep recouping your blood. But for what I didn't get to play it, but Ray and Alex really liked it. They did an interview that they'll have up, and I heard a lot of people mention it, so I figured I'd call that one out. That's Crisol.
Oh, that's funny because I had it with a Y and 2 Z's.
There you go. That's why I spelled it. Yeah.
For shizzle.
Yep. No, Crizzle. Well,
Yeah.
and I would be remiss if I didn't mention here that one of my games of the weekend was The Expanse. Definitely not a Mass Effect Expanse game coming at you sometime in the future. I love Owlcat. They make great RPGs. They're now making a AAA 3D looking Mass Effect type thing in one of my favorite universes in The Expanse. I think it's something Osiris. Is it Rise of Osiris? Return of Osiris?
Can't be Rise of Osiris.
I thought it was.
Rise of Osiris is Destiny. I think these are things that are in my head.
Expanse Osiris Reborn.
Osiris is reborn this time. We got lots of Osiri everywhere.
Osiris.
Osiris, The Expanse : Osiris Reborn. Yes, that's it. But
This
yes,
thing
I'm
looks
with you.
amazing.
It does. Yes, it does. What'd you guys think of Code Vein 2?
Interesting.
I thought there was a Code Vein 2. Honestly, I saw this trailer and I thought, didn't they make a sequel of this already?
No. No, they
See?
didn't.
Well, obviously
No, they
I'm
didn't.
wrong. I assume that they didn't just double up on 2s, but I have been known to put the same number on my videos sometimes. So, hey, maybe you just forgot that you made a sequel.
You didn't call Drinkbox Juicebox. You're doing just fine.
I
You're
could
good.
have. That's the thing that definitely could have happened to me.
So it's funny because Alex and I went to sit in on the gameplay demo of Code Vein 2, and sure enough, Brad and Dustin from LSM were in there with us. So we were chatting with them, as well as Jake Baldino. So some big players in the space were sitting in there with us. It looks pretty good. It looks very like Code Vein 1, but they again, kind of like Neo, stress that they're going for much larger open areas in the sequel, which again I appreciate, because my biggest complaint with Code Vein 1 was the level design. So we'll see.
I like Code Vein, but I would not have assumed that Ains would like Code Vein.
Yeah, I played it for a little while, and I was just like, the level design just bored me to tears.
Stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I guess
and
I think of it as too anime for him.
It is a bit anime for me. You're right. Last thing I'll shout out, I think anyway, is Dying Light: The Beast. Did not expect to really be too impressed with this. Dying Light 2 was a pretty big letdown for me personally.
Really?
Yeah, but The Beast, it looks really good. They basically said this is essentially Dying Light 3, and when you see it in action, Alex played it, and we were sitting there with him. Yeah, it's big. It looks very well optimized, at least on the rig they were playing on, right? But it's got everything you know about Dying Light, but it looks to have, also more guns, kind of more narrative. I was pretty impressed with it. So we'll have a preview of that going up as well.
I think I'm on that review.
Are you? Okay, cool. Yeah, it played very well in person. So in person, you know what I mean? Yeah, I think that's about it. We've got other stuff up. You can check on our site. I'm not going to call out everything. There's other stuff you can check out.
It was hundreds of games. You can't call out everything.
Yeah, there's way too
Thousands,
many. So I think I called out the ones I wanted to. Shout out to Mortal Shell 2 having a fully on metal reveal. That was awesome.
That was pretty sick.
Yeah.
I reviewed Mortal Shell 1, and it's just sort of like an okay Souls-like. But
100% with you. I reviewed it, and I thought the same thing. I was like,
such potential, and I think a 2 could be really, really cool. So I'm excited for that.
When they just went full on like gothic horror with like metal blaring, I was like, okay,
it was cool. It felt confident. Yeah. They feel like confident with that trailer. It made me a little more excited.
Yeah. I'm sure there's stuff I'm forgetting, but that's fine. We've been talking for quite a while about these.
Yeah, we don't have time for Mind's Eye. We'll talk about it during a slower news week. I have a lot of things I want to say about my relationship with that game. But yeah,
with Mind's Eye.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Our review will be up tomorrow as well. I mean, other reviews are out now, but I think Hogue said early on it feels like a punching bag right now, which it does.
I said it in the pre-show.
He said that in the pre-show. He hasn't said.
Oh, sorry. Well, there you go.
Yes, no, I think Mind's Eye. I bought Mind's Eye. I like to try interesting things. We're going to talk about Mind's Eye a little bit.
We'll talk more next week.
And I do think it's a bit of a punching bag online right now, because that's what the internet likes to do, is find somebody to go and punch. And that is what's happening with Mind's Eye. I do think it is a lesser effort. I liken it to a game Travis reviewed last year that you probably have already forgotten about. I might not even be able to remember the title correctly, but Unknown 9, I think is what it was
Awakening.
called.
Yep.
Which is this kind of middling third person, maybe Uncharted, not really anywhere near that, but what they were going for. Mind's Eye is a kind of maybe Mafia game. Like, it's not an open world, it's linear, point to point, and some of what you see online is people deliberately breaking the mission flow and then saying, look at how bad this open world is, which is fair. It's not a good open world. It's also not really trying to be. But worse than that, it's also a platform for like these kind of random built experiences. So it wants to be Little Big Planet, only everything is kind of boring and lame. And the actual narrative suffers for being slowly paced and not having many interesting things happen during it. So my biggest complaint about Mind's Eye is that you're bored. It's not even that the gameplay is bad. When it's not having performance glitches, and it does have slowdown even on the PlayStation 5 Pro, it's a relatively smooth shooting experience. It's just that you're not going to be terribly interested in whoever you're shooting or why. And so Mind's Eye is maybe the worst of all worlds. It's not bad enough to truly enjoy how bad it is. It's certainly not good enough to be entertaining on its own. It winds up in this 4 to 6 review space for me, which is really unfortunate. But I also don't like to see people like deliberately cherry picking bad things about it online.
I think the punching that's happening is mostly deserved. And I think 4 to 6 is probably generous for my appraisal of it. I will say this. I am devastated I did not review this game. I wanted to so bad, but I just didn't have time with Dune Awakening taking so much of my time. We are doing a review of it, but somebody else is working on it. I I'll tell you this: there's a lot of fun discussion online because apparently the intro. So if you haven't played the game, the intro of the game is very slow and it has like almost like 2 hours of like slowly kind of introduced cutscenes and whatnot. And there's currently a theory going around right now that the reason that the opening is that way is so that you don't get to gameplay before you have gone past the 2 hour Steam refund window.
And the
Which
gameplay isn't bad enough for
which
that.
I find very funny. Which I find very funny. Well, that's when you hit the bugs, right? So yeah, interesting. I'm just, I'm interested by it. I won't talk too much about this one, but I'm very sad I didn't get to review it because I would have loved to dive really deep into this one.
Yeah. We do have a super chat to get to from Lucius, who I got to meet for the first time. He's a regular here at Bitcast, but I got to meet him for the first time in LA, so that was a pleasure. So let's grab this.
Nice.
Lucius Augustus, $5 super chat. Play anywhere, smart delivery, quick resume. Some of the greatest features in console gaming in the past 10 years, and Xbox gets no credit. Agreed.
Sorry,
and also agreed that they get no credit, but I agree they shouldn't get any credit.
I really don't like quick resume. I wind up having to turn off all of the things it has saved because they just don't function very well with the games I play.
It depends on the game. Sometimes I boot up a game and I'm like, quick resume doesn't.
Some of the online games it falters with for sure. But sorry, we're
really
getting to this
cool.
late.
Yeah.
We're getting a super chat late. Sorry. We were talking about with the Xbox showcase, but
so it's very cool when you forgot that a game was open and then you pop it open and it's right where you left it and you're like, oh, that's
2 years ago.
Yeah, I did that with like Oblivion Remastered. I would just like forget it was on and my Xbox was fully off and I turn it on and it's like, oh, Doom, I'm right back in the world.
Yeah,
no
you
loading.
can fully
It's really
shut down, and I think it can save 5 games at once as well. So like I know Switch keeps the one running that you're playing, so does PlayStation, but like it only keeps that last one running, whereas quick resume can actually, I believe, save 5, maybe more.
And it doesn't have any clear indicators that it's got them there. You have to go into the menu and shut it down.
What is smart delivery again? Yeah. This is another term I've already forgotten.
Smart delivery was when
it'll play the one that is the system that you're on. And both PlayStation and Nintendo have this as a big problem because the Switch 2 editions have this upgrade pathway now, but clearly a lot of the third parties didn't get the memo as to how Nintendo was planning to implement this. So for instance, I have 2 Hogwarts Legacies in my Switch library. They didn't bother to name either one Switch 2, and you just kind of have to guess as to which picture is the Switch 2 version, which is annoying.
When I was reviewing Hogwarts Legacy, obviously I got a code sent to me for Hogwarts Legacy on the Switch 2 version. I'm not on that mailing list. But it was not the same version as the Switch 1 version. And so I was like, well, clearly I could just play this on Switch 1. No, separate product. You have to pay $60 for the Switch 1 version. And it's not like I could. I think they might have had an upgrade path if you own the Switch 1 version.
They didn't. They had a discount price.
Very cool.
So they could tell that you had the license, but they sold you the Switch 2 one for $10.
I had to buy Hogwarts Legacy on Switch 1 by myself just so that I could play it and do the comparison, and I was like very irritated. I was like, why is this not a thing?
This is more of Nintendo being proprietary because they have the upgrade pathway that they use for like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and it's clear that they have this method that they can sell you a $10 patch for your game. But for whatever reason, Warner Brothers wasn't clued in on this, and so there are 2 Hogwarts Legacies, and they went with like the brute force method of, we can tell you own Hogwarts Legacy 1. Your upgrade path is you buy Hogwarts Legacy 2 and it's $10.
Yeah. And PlayStation had the same thing, right? When they transitioned from PS4 to PS5.
They still do.
So they still do. So you have versions of both games. You have some have $10 upgrade pass. Some have different versions you have to download. It's really messy. It goes back to communication, which on this point, for once, Xbox kind of nailed it because as you got your Series X, you just installed your games and you got the best version. They updated.
Yeah, no, it's super simple. It's just I want to play that game and it'll run the best it can.
Yeah, which is how it should be. So I think to Lucius's point, but we've talked about it. But Lucius, thank you, man. It was an absolute pleasure meeting you and hanging out with you there. So hopefully we get to do it again.
He doesn't look like Bartman, does he?
No, no. Although he does, he has kind of braided hair and, maybe.
It would be great if you did either way, Lucius. I'm always amazed by the people that have the little pictures in their profiles and not being able to recognize anyone in real life.
Well, boys, I know we could talk about games forever as we joked. We'll be back next week, obviously, to talk about more. We'll have a lot more coverage of things from Summer Game Fest on SG this week as well. We have more videos coming. We have more previews coming. So check those out. We'd appreciate it. But other than that, we also have Dune Awakening, which, Travis mentioned as well. And a few other things, Mind's Eye review, a few other things coming up too. So if you just if you just check it out, I'd appreciate it. And as always, sharing out the independent stuff that we do is really helps us. So other than that, it's a great experience. Travis, I'll throw it over to you first this week.
Yeah, I will promote my Hogwarts Legacy Switch 2 review update. We did a different format for that where I didn't have a script. I was just shooting from the hip and talking because it was like a short version of a review. My Lies of P Overture review, which was one of the embargoes I was sitting on, you can now see. I have a Dune Awakening review in progress, or I have a Dune Awakening review in progress available now and a full review tomorrow, which will include an interview between myself and Tom Marks where we talk about survival games and Dune in general. And then also, I'm still sitting on a bunch of embargoes from the last time we talked where I said I couldn't talk about games. Still sitting on those very long embargoes. So I'll have more to talk about. I think, definitely next Sunday I'll have both embargoes lifted and I'll be able to talk about some more stuff. So that's cool. That's me. Hogue,
cool.
How about you?
How about me? Don't you mean show me your wares?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Okay, Hogue, show me your wares.
Okay, well, the sad part about that is that I really don't have a lot of wares to show. I've been doing law firm type business behind the scenes, but that's not terribly public facing. So still working on that. I don't think I've done a virtual legality or a Hangouts and Headlines in the interim period here between shows. Maybe the last Hangouts I did, which was about Taylor Swift and her buying back her masters, was since the last one. I don't remember. But otherwise, I'm doing a lot of Last Stand media content. You can catch me over there pretty regularly, doing various videos of various kinds. And there's a lot to cover in the land of virtual legality and Hangouts and Headlines that I should be covering if I could ever just get off my butt and make some more videos more often. So thank you for being here with me. Thank you, Ains, for giving me the links and everything for the video setup for the bonus episode over the last couple of days so that we could have that ready. And I appreciate everybody that's here on my channel or on Season Gaming. I love having these conversations. And even though a lot of the shows wound up being a little disappointing to me, I still think it's a fantastic time to be a video gamer. And I love the Switch 2. I love the altars. I love the various things that I'm playing in all different places. And so thank you for hanging out with us. Now go play games.
Yeah, seriously. And good chat. I can't believe I forgot to promote it, but we did put up a 45-minute or so video from last week where the three of us talked about all of our kind of gaming histories, games we remembered from growing up and those types of things. So check that out as well. It's on both sides. So other than that, as Hogue said, go play some games. There are millions of them right now. There's some fantastic stuff out there. We hope you enjoy the Summer Game Fest weekend and show, and we will be back next week at our normal, regularly scheduled time to talk more games as always. Till then, enjoy the week, and we will see you next week. Peace.